Chapter 11-12, Feel the Pain. 3. The enormous tornado wreaked havoc. Space got torn wherever it went. It was extremely frightening, as if it was a natural disaster in the universe. Feel the pain. The cold voice floated out from the space tornado again. The image of the space tornado was reflected in the eyes of the 3 heaven stage martial warriors. Their pupils shrunk to a single line. No. Their souls almost left their bodies in fear. There was no time to evade. They bellowed in anger and unwillingness and released all the forces in their body. Boom. The space tornado submerged them, devouring them like a giant universe behemoth. Boom. A terrifying explosion occurred, strong enough to cause a vibration in the universe. The sound echoed throughout the space. Then, there was a moment of dead silence. Wang Teng's figure appeared in the air again. His face was a little pale, but he was standing straight and tall. His back faced the spacecraft while his black hair danced in the wind. The frightening explosion made his back view appear even more outstanding. In the spacecraft, the leader of martial arts and the others stared at this scene in a daze. Despite being well prepared, this scene still made them awestruck. Lin Chuhan stared at the back with glowing eyes. His handsome and outstanding image was etched deeply in her heart. Lin Chuxia also stared at Wang Teng without blinking. She was filled with excitement. Her little face was red, and there was admiration and respect in her eyes. She would have cheered if the situation allowed her to. Dan Taishuan's gaze was complex. She sighed in her heart. The martial warriors from the Olent Federation lost their voices. Their faces were as white as a sheet of paper. Despair surged into their heart. They lost. They lost in the end. They lost to a celestial stage martial warrior. What face and hope did they have to continue living? Sheng Luo was still in disbelief. A celestial stage martial warrior had defeated them. He was so angry that he vomited a mouth of blood. The younger martial warriors were in a daze. Their gazes turned heavy as if they had suffered a huge blow. They had a mental breakdown. They stared at Wang Teng's back view and saw the rise of a universe star. He was still weak now, but he was already giving off an outstanding and glamorous glow. The Olent Federation became the first stepping stone for this up and rising star. What right did they have to look down on this genius? What right did they have to fight with him? They remembered their contempt towards him and wished they could bury themselves in the ground. They were like fireflies showing off their brilliance to a star. It was stupid and funny. At this moment, regret appeared in the hearts of the people from the Olent Federation. Wang Ting activated spiritual sight as he looked at the explosion. He saw 3 balls of light getting dimmer and dimmer. He heaved a sigh of relief secretly. Good, good. This move could indeed threaten a heaven stage martial warrior. He was fortunate that Enlan and Flaming River managed to hold back his enemies. If not, things wouldn't have gone so smoothly. In a real battle, his enemy wouldn't wait for him to execute his ultimate move. Enlan flew over from afar and said with a complex gaze, "You sure gave me a surprise. I can't withstand that attack either." "It's just one move," Wang Teng replied with a bitter smile. "Ha ha ha, one move to defeat a formidable warrior." Enlan teased him before lamenting, "This is good enough. Mind you, you're only at the celestial stage." Wang Ting shook his head. He kept quiet and didn't acknowledge what Enlan said. The Olent Federation wanted to bully someone weaker than them, but they met the wrong guy. "They found a monster like you," Enlan gloated. He was thrilled. After some time, the explosion in front finally died down. Peace resumed. Only the dimensional rifts were still scattered around, bearing evidence to what had happened. 3 distorted figures appeared, floating in space. They were the 3 heaven stage martial warriors. They were in a tragic state. Their limbs were either chopped or broken, and they were drenched in blood. They looked like dolls that had been forcefully torn apart. "TSK, how miserable," Enlan said involuntarily. "Huh. They're not dead." Wang Teng exclaimed in surprise. "They're not dead." Enlan was stunned. He stared at the 3 crippled bodies in astonishment and commented, "They're not dead even at this stage? They have one last breath left." Wang Teng sneered. The vitality of a heaven stage martial warrior is really strong. Let's take a look. They flew over and observed the 3 broken bodies. The 2 martial warriors from the Olent Federation were unconscious. Only Cao Hongtu had a bit of wit with him. Fear welled up in his eyes when he saw Wang Ting flying over. His voice was hoarse like a piece of metal scraping on the ground. Don't kill me. Senior brother Cao, you should have some dignity when you die. Don't be a coward, Wang Ting said indifferently. Cao Hongtu wanted to curse, but he was too weak. He had no extra energy left. You're a devil. And Lan felt speechless. Really? Wang Ting asked. You should know it yourself. And Lan touched his chin. He sized up the 3 of them. Indeed, they only have one last breath left. It looks like they resisted your attack together by gathering all their forces in one spot. That's how they managed to survive. A heaven stage martial warrior is indeed scary. Why does it sound weird when you say it? And Lan choked. I'm serious. Can't you see I've exhausted so much of my energy? What do you plan to do with them? Kill them now? And Lan rolled his eyes and asked. Bring them back. They shouldn't die so easily. Let's get some benefits from them before killing them in front of all the citizens of the Olent Federation, Wang Teng contemplated and said. I think they will suffer more in your hands than if they die immediately. And Lan clicked his tongue. You're mocking me. Wang Teng rolled his eyes. No, I'm complimenting you. Silence. Wang Teng and An Lan dragged the 3 heaven stage martial warriors back to the spacecraft. The leader of martial arts and the others felt cold sweat pouring down their foreheads when they saw the 3 lifeless people. They had personally witnessed how strong they were a moment ago. Yet, they couldn't be more miserable now. The contrast was stark. The muscles on the faces of the people from the Olent Federation started vibrating. All of them were in a panic. 3 heaven stage martial warriors. They were beaten to death like dogs. This was terrifying. Their gazes changed when they looked at Wang Teng again. They didn't even dare to meet his eyes when he glanced over. We won, the leader of martial arts and the others asked in disbelief. Unless they have more heaven stage martial warriors, we have won. Wang Ting knew that they couldn't believe the scene, so he smiled and replied to them. Sigh, that's good. The leader of martial arts heaved a long sigh. Wang Ting lifted up the 3 heaven stage martial warriors and threw them in front of Sheng Luo. They landed on the ground with a loud bang. Sheng Luo felt his eyelids jumping. This was too much. Can't you be gentler since they're already injured? They're still heaven stage martial warriors. Please show them some respect. But no one dared to speak. They couldn't even save themselves now. They pretended that they didn't see anything. With a smirk, Wang Teng said, Round Ball, let's head to St. Star Pagoda. Haha, sure. Round Ball's eyes lit up. It felt that Wang Ting wanted to stir up more trouble, so it chuckled with excitement. Chapter 11:13. Give a warning before taking revenge. Under the control of Round Ball, the spacecraft flew toward the huge planet. Without the 3 heaven stage martial warriors, the Olent Federation was like an army with no generals. Moreover, most of their Cosmos stage martial warriors had also been wiped out by Wang Teng. There was hardly any chance of resistance now. To Wang Teng, Olent Planet was something he could claim now. The spacecraft was incredibly fast and entered Olent Planet's atmosphere in the blink of an eye. The top officials of Olent Federation had witnessed the defeat of Tu Jin and the others and what had happened on the battlefield. The entire planet fell into despair. Countless living beings were silent. There was no one else that dared to stop the Flaming River spacecraft. Round Ball, hack into Olent Planet's network. Let's get to know the people of this planet, Wang Ting said. No problem. Leave it to me. Round Ball nodded. Countless data appeared in front of everyone. It flashed quickly and was dazzling. It didn't take long for Round Ball to hack Olent Federation's network. The people on Olent Planet realized that they couldn't log into the network and that their screens were taken over by an external party. No matter what they were doing, the screen was switched. A young human appeared on their devices. Greetings, people of the Olent Federation. The young man on the screen smiled and spoke using the common universal language. If you can see me, it means that the Olent Federation has been conquered by me. Gasp. There was commotion all over Olent planet. The top officials already knew what was going on, but many ordinary martial warriors had no idea that their fates had changed. Only when they heard Wang Teng did they realize that something big had happened to Olent Federation. But how was this possible? The powerful and mighty Olent Federation was conquered. Everyone found it hard to believe and absurd. Many of them even wondered if this was a prank. Unfortunately not. Sheng Luo, Tu Jin, and Bartlett suddenly appeared on the screens. More importantly, they were in miserable states. Sheng Luo was a bit better and only looked disheveled, but Tu Jin and Bartlett were in a bad shape. The people of Olent Federation almost didn't recognize them. I guess I do not need to introduce these three to you. Wang Teng's voice resounded again. I regret to tell you that they have been captured by me. Silence. Dead silence. After a while, the entire Olent Federation was in an uproar. Oh my God. That's President Sheng Luo, Lord Tu Jin, and Lord Bartlett. How did they become like this? Are you joking? Those three are so powerful. How can they be captured? No, I saw Lord Tu Jin and Lord Bartlett rushing into the universe as if they were going into battle. All of this might be true. It's over, it's over. Olent Federation's 3 Heaven Stage martial warriors have been captured. What is going on? Why are they invading the Olent Federation? These damned invaders. I believe many people are wondering, why am I doing this to the Olent Federation? Wang Teng seemed to know what everyone was thinking and smiled amicably as he explained, that's a long story. All in all, I come from an underdeveloped planet, and you people wanted to invade my home. But when you failed, you wanted to destroy it in anger. This is probably the thinking and mentality that every major force is used to. After all, the strong are respected in the universe. There is nothing wrong. The attention of the people of Olent Federation gradually shifted to him. The commotion and noise slowly died down as he spoke. In fact, they had already guessed what had happened. Things don't always go the way people want. I counterattacked. When they heard that, the people of Olent Federation felt heavy-hearted, but they were speechless for a moment. What do you mean by counterattack? This was such a serious matter, but he was talking weirdly. So I'm very sorry. Now, the Olent Federation has become my target, Wang Teng finally said. Everyone in the Olent Federation had complicated expressions. They lost their words. Some hated it, and some feared it. Some even felt the same way, that's right. Wang Teng seemed as though he had remembered something. I was bullied so horribly by the Olent Federation. I hope everyone would understand if I do something outrageous. The listeners were stunned and unable to complain. Why is this guy talking weirdly? He said those things without any hesitation or pressure. How thick was his skin? And they didn't see how miserable he was. Lord Tu Jin and the others were the ones who were miserable. They were beaten into a pulp. While they were cursing at him, an ominous premonition gradually emerged in their hearts. Thinking about it from another perspective, if they were in the same shoes, they probably wouldn't spare their enemies either. But why would they understand him? He wanted them to understand him for invading their planet. How was there such a shameless person in the world? The people inside the Flaming River spacecraft heard that and were speechless as well. He actually gave them a warning before taking his revenge. Was he being polite? He even asked for their understanding. Why didn't he just let them come forward and take some punches? He was going too far. However, they felt that it was pretty good. Evil should be punished by evil. Wang Teng was doing amazingly, and it satisfied them. Wang Teng, we have reached St. Star Pagoda, Roundball said. Oh. Wang Teng stood up, walked to the main control station, and looked out. A huge city emerged in front of his eyes with a peculiar tower in the center. It was several hundred meters tall and was extremely prominent and eye-catching. This was St. Star City, the place where St. Star Pagoda was located. The entire city was an academy. All the talents from the Olent Federation were gathered in this bustling city, which was why this was the holy land of the Olent Federation. But today, the enormous Flaming River spacecraft descended from the skies and finally hovered above St. Star City. The residents had already heard Wang Ting's announcement. However, they didn't expect that his first stop would be St. Star Pagoda. Countless people from St. Star Pagoda raised their heads and looked up at the enormous flaming river spacecraft. Desperation and despair emerged in their hearts. They are here. Will they attack St. Star Pagoda? Back then, we used that planet as our trial ground. Are they here for revenge? What now? Even President Sheng Luo has been captured. We can't do anything to resist. St. Star Pagoda's instructors and students walked out of the buildings one by one. Their faces were pale, and they were in a panic. Inside the flaming river spacecraft, Wang Ting looked at Sheng Luo and said, "Let's go, President Sheng Luo. Give me a tour. Let me see how amazing your St. Star Pagoda is." Sheng Luo didn't utter a word. He was so aggrieved, but his entire body was imprisoned. He couldn't resist at all. Wang Ting then brought him out of Flaming River. And Lan, Bertha, and the others followed closely. In front of St. Star Pagoda, a group of people gathered together as they watched Wang Ting and the others land. Everyone came out to welcome us. You are all too polite, Wang Ting looked at them and said. The crowd was frustrated. To hell with welcoming you. Who wants to welcome you? Don't be delusional. Hurry up and get out of here. I am Wallace, Vice President of St. Star Pagoda. How do I address you, sir? An old man walked out of the crowd and bowed to Wang Ting. You don't know my name? Wang Ting glanced at him. Cough cough. Wallace felt uncomfortable and smiled awkwardly. You must be Wang Ting, the talent from Earth. I'm not a talent. I'm just an earthling. Sir Wang Ting is too humble. With your achievements, a peerless genius like yourself will have a place in the universe in the future, Wallace complimented. Enough with the nonsense. I believe you know why I'm here. Wang Ting interrupted him and said, do you want to hand over what I want, or should I do it myself? Wallace's face went stiff. Sir Wang Ting, the Olent Federation is affiliated with the Great Qian Empire. We are in the same camp as you. Let's not do things this way. But you didn't consider us to be in the same camp when you wanted to destroy my home planet. Wallace wanted to say something. Bertha, Hardy, get some people and dig out all the valuable things in this place. Kill anyone who tries to stop you. Wang Ting wasn't interested in listening to his nonsense. Yes. Bertha and Hardy immediately sprung into action. 1 inch wait. Wallace's expression changed drastically. He didn't think too much and tried to stop the two of them. Wang Ting was annoyed. Seeing this, Hardy felt that his opportunity to perform was here. He suddenly disappeared from his spot and appeared in front of Wallace. Boom. The blade slashed down directly without any words. Wallace's pupils shrank. He didn't expect them to attack like they said they would. He could only retreat in a hurry to avoid the blow. However, Hardy was a Cosmos stage martial warrior from the Shadow Assassin clan. That strange killing method was not something an ordinary martial warrior would know. The blade glow suddenly disappeared without any signs and reappeared on Wallace's head. Boom. With a loud noise, Wallace flew out from the impact. There was an additional long blade wound on his body. Blood spurted out from his mouth. Chapter 11:14. This was a cold-blooded fellow. A song from hell. Vice President. Vice President. The instructors and students shouted when they saw Wallace getting injured. Their expressions changed. Hardy reappeared in everyone's vision. He glanced at Wang Ting and heard nothing from him. Getting his signal, he appeared in front of Wallace. Misunderstanding, Wallace clutched his chest with fear in his eyes. He wanted to plead for mercy. Boom. However, Hardy had already slashed his blade down and shut his mouth. The vice president of St. Star Pagoda was a Cosmos stage martial warrior, but he wasn't Hardy's match. He got killed instantly. Fresh blood spurted a few meters away. The people from St. Star Pagoda were stunned. They stared at Wallace's corpse in a daze, their bodies turning cold. The vice president of St. Star Pagoda, a Cosmos stage martial warrior, was so easily killed. They looked back and forth between Hardy and Wang Ting. Wang Ting appeared indifferent. There was only ruthlessness in his eyes. At this moment, They finally knew how vicious the other party was. Sheng Luo's lips trembled slightly. Then, he closed his eyes. He was the one who had promoted Wallace to his current status. He didn't think that he would end up in this state. Wang Teng wasn't just appearing fierce and indifferent. He was also in a state of shock. Hardy seemed a little cold-blooded. At first, he just planned to injure Wallace heavily, but Hardy killed him directly. This is too much. They killed Vice President Wallace. We need to fight with them. Fight with them. There were many young and hot-blooded youngsters in St. Star Pagoda. They were enraged and started shouting as they dashed forward with bloodshot eyes. Bertha and Hardy glanced at Wang Teng. Kill them. Wang Ting frowned and said indifferently. These fellows from St. Star Pagoda didn't understand the situation. Where did they get their guts to shout at him at a time like this? Did they think he was doing charity? The two slaves charged forward without any hesitation. The highest level among these St. Star Pagoda students was the celestial stage. They were not Bertha or Hardy's match. All of them collapsed into puddles of blood and became tools that dropped attribute bubbles. Sheng Luo felt his eyelids trembling violently. He was heartless towards others, but as the president, he couldn't ignore the death of his students. Constellation Force, Water, *1000 Celestial Realm Spirit *80 Celestial Realm Enlightenment *110 Constellation Force, Earth, *1200 Constellation Force, Wood, *1400 Celestial Realm Spirit *150. Wang Ting walked forward and picked up the attribute bubbles. These were celestial stage martial warriors, so the value of the bubbles wasn't high. He didn't count them specifically. He collected them first. He hadn't counted the attribute bubbles from Cao Hongtu and the other two martial warriors either. He would do it together after dealing with this matter. You're really brave. I admire your courage, Wang Teng complimented. Everyone, he was adding oil to the flame. This was inhumane. The words he said could anger someone to death. And Lan and the others paid a silent tribute to the students from St. Star Pagoda. The students got even more furious. They lost their composure and rushed ahead while yelling at the top of their lungs. In the end, more and more students from St. Star Pagoda were killed. The plaza in front of the tower was covered with corpses. It was a ghastly sight. Those who didn't dare to fight felt more fearful of Wang Teng's maliciousness. This was a cruel man. He killed people as if he was shaving grass, not taking it to heart at all. Even if they rushed forward, they would be wasting time. It wouldn't change the ending. This was an unnecessary sacrifice. Everyone from the St. Star Pagoda had a mental breakdown. They didn't have the courage to fight Wang Ting. However, Wang Teng didn't plan to let them go. It would be a waste to give up on all these fat lambs. Wang Teng took out his lightning slap and smashed it toward the crowd. They didn't attack him, so Wang Teng was too lazy to kill them. However, he had to get the most out of them. These students from the St. Star Pagoda were only at the celestial stage and below, but they were definitely extremely talented since they were accepted into St. Star Pagoda. Thus, their attribute bubbles must be valuable. Bang, bang, bang. Instantly, dull thuds echoed in the plaza. The students didn't have time to react. The lightning slap slammed into their heads with the power of lightning. They experienced the pleasant sensation of getting electrocuted. Then, cries of pain filled up the air. They sounded miserable. Don't hide. I'll hit anyone that runs away, Wang Ting shouted. The students who wanted to resist froze in their tracks. They felt frustrated and almost vomited a mouthful of blood. But between life and dignity, they decided to choose their lives. Wasn't it better to stay alive? Why should they seek death like the rest of the students? Bang, 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 boom, boom. Three different noises echoed in the air as if they were following a rhythm. The sound hung in the air above St. Star Pagoda Plaza as if they were performing a beautiful music piece. However, no one wanted to enjoy it. This wasn't a beautiful music piece, it was a song from hell. The leader of martial arts and the others, their lips twitching. They couldn't bear to watch it. Wang Ting had a weird fetish. It was quite embarrassing. They increased the distance from him involuntarily. They were afraid they would be influenced by him and pick up some strange habits. The students from St. Star Pagoda fell one by one. Their heads had swelled to twice their normal size, and their faces were black. Their hair stood on ends. The poor crowd looked comical. The remaining students stared at Wang Ting in fright. They were shivering while their hearts were filled with terror. Devil. He was a devil. Don't come over, enough. Sheng Luo suddenly shouted. He couldn't bear to watch it anymore. Is your heart aching? Wang Ting looked at him in surprise. You want the treasures of my Saint Star Pagoda, right? I'll lead you there, Sheng Luo said without any expression. That's good. Wang Ting smiled. He stopped making things difficult for the students. He had gotten all the attribute bubbles he wanted. The remaining ones wouldn't make a difference. Everyone walked into the tower under Sheng Luo's lead. They came directly to the 99th story. Rooms that looked like vaults appeared in front of them. The space inside was huge. Different items were placed in different rooms. There were weapons, spiritual darns, spiritual herbs, ores, armor, energy stones. Almost everything was here. It was a feast for the eyes. The earthlings were dazzled. They swallowed a mouth of saliva unconsciously. So many treasures. Lin Chuxia's eyes sparkled. Is this the foundation of the Saint Star Pagoda? These treasures must be more valuable than the entire earth combined, the leader of martial arts exclaimed. Of course. You can buy more than 10 earths with these treasures. Round Ball smiled. Wang Teng, the value of all these items should be worth at least 700 billion UC. More than 10. The earthlings choked. Goodness. What kind of concept was this? They didn't dare to imagine, especially the heads of various nations. They felt that they had a wider perspective of the world after venturing out with Wang Ting. It looked like there was no need to continue the concept of the nations. In this vast universe, the countries on Earth were extremely small. Not bad. I didn't think that the Saint Star Pagoda would have so much good stuff. Wang Ting scanned the treasures with astonishment. With his current wealth, these items weren't enough to make him lose his composure, but they were indeed worth a lot. A normal heaven stage martial warrior wouldn't have so many assets. Sheng Luo remained quiet. His face was black as a pot. These treasures were accumulated over many years. It was the hard work of all the students, but now, Wang Ting got to take everything. Sheng Luo's heart was bleeding when he thought about this. But he didn't have a choice. Wang Ting wouldn't leave without it. He hoped that Wang Ting would be in a good mood after collecting everything and would let Saint Star Pagoda off. Keep them, Wang Ting ordered. Yes. Bertha and Hardy were amazed by the treasures too. They hurriedly replied when they heard Wang Ting's order. After some time, all the items were swept away. Not a single morsel was left for Saint Star Pagoda. The muscles on Sheng Luo's face twitched uncontrollably. Is this enough? All the treasures of the Saint Star Pagoda are here. This is your compensation. The grudge between us is gone. What do you think? Sheng Luo said with a sharp look. Aren't you thinking too much? Wang Ting looked at him in astonishment. These are my spoils of war. What does it have to do with you? Sheng Luo, you have everything. What else do you want? Sheng Luo was exasperated. He took a deep breath and asked in a patient tone. A life for a life. Wang Ting snorted. You. Sheng Luo's expression changed. Do you dare to kill me? Why not? Wang Ting asked. You will get nothing from killing me. My Saint Star Pagoda has existed for many years. Do you think I have no foundation? I have a few disciples with great talent. They hold positions in various powerful universe factions, including Mercenaries Alliance and Universe Bank. Even if you're a baron of the Great Qian Empire, you should consider their power. Now, are you sure you want to kill me? Sheng Luo scoffed. Do you think I'm afraid? Wang Teng asked expressionlessly. Sheng Luo and Wang Ting stared at one another. Sheng Luo wanted to detect a hint of doubt in Wang Ting's eyes, but he failed. His expression turned uglier. Was this a reckless young man? This was his last resort. He had no other choice if Wang Ting still wanted to kill him. But he didn't want to die. This was irritating. Wang Tung smirked. Just when he was about to leave, he decided to use his eyes of essence to scan his surroundings. He mustn't believe everything Sheng Luo said. What if he fooled him? There was no interlayer between the walls. Just as he was about to give up, he raised his head and glanced upwards. He was almost blinded. More than 10 balls of glaring light entered his vision. F***K, I almost got fooled by this old fellow. Wang Ting cursed in his heart. He looked at Sheng Luo and asked with a black face, President Sheng Luo, are you happy? I don't know what you're saying. Sheng Luo's heart dropped when he saw his gaze. You don't have to admit it. What's mine is mine. Nothing will be left behind. Wang Ting smirked. He walked around under everyone's puzzled gaze and stopped in an empty spot. What do you want to do? And Lan asked curiously. This old man isn't honest. The good things are above, Wang Ting said casually and then punched upwards. Boom. The ceiling, which was made of who knew what material, remained intact. Not even a crack could be seen. Huh. Not bad. Wang Ting exclaimed in surprise. Sheng Luo heaved a sigh of relief. Let me try. And Lan walked over and waved his hand. The 1,000 armaments vessel formed a drill and started spinning at high speed under his spiritual control. Boom. The ceiling suddenly shone brightly. A round array materialized below it, blocking the attack of the 1,000 armaments vessel. Now, I believe that there's something good above, and Lan turned and said. Of course. Wang Tung rolled his eyes and asked, can you do it? Spin. And Lan's competitiveness was ignited. He didn't reply to Wang Tung but continued increasing his spiritual power instead to control the drill to spin faster. Boom. The array on the ceiling started vibrating violently. It gave off a brilliant glow. Chapter 11:15, F***K. This fellow's thoughts are amazing. The violent vibrations went on for a few minutes, but no signs of damage were seen. F***K. And Lan cursed uncontrollably. His face turned black. What kind of stupid array is this? This is a tortoise's shell. Sheng Luo remained calm. There was contempt in his eyes. This was a top-tier defense array. A heaven stage martial warrior wouldn't be able to destroy it. What's with that gaze? And Lan felt offended. He glared back at Sheng Luo. HMPH. Sheng Luo snorted. Actually, you don't have to work so hard. Wang Ting circled the room with a strange expression as he released some force toward the ceiling occasionally. He didn't stop moving. When he returned to his original position, the defense array gave off a brilliant glow and dimmed immediately. It was as if it shut down. Boom. A door opened. Sheng Luo was stunned. He stared at the deactivated array without speaking a word. Wang Ting managed to deactivate this powerful defense array so easily. Seriously? Why didn't you say that earlier? And Lan was so frustrated that he felt like vomiting blood. Oh, I couldn't bear to disturb you because you were having so much fun, Wang Ting replied. Me. And Lan flared up in anger. He felt extremely stupid. This bastard. He had a plan, but he didn't say a word. He only stepped forward after enjoying his failures. Evil man. Infuriating. How did you deactivate this array? Sheng Luo furrowed his brows as he asked in disbelief. Haha, are you surprised? He's a rune grandmaster. Your rune array can't stop him. Round Ball sniggered. Rune grandmaster. The disbelief in Sheng Luo's eyes grew thicker. He stared at Wang Ting in astonishment. He couldn't believe that this young man was a grandmaster. How old was he? Based on the information he had collected in the past, this young man was only 20. All the grandmasters were more than 100 years old. Were they joking by telling him that this 20-year-old young man was one of them? Promise me, don't use your shallow imagination to guess my level, Wang Ting said sincerely. Silence. To hell with shallow imagination. Sheng Luo felt that he had never experienced such humiliation before. He almost vomited a mouthful of blood. He felt disgusted. And Lan, Round Ball, and the others had strange expressions on their faces. They knew that Wang Ting wasn't boasting for the sake of boasting. He just wanted to irritate Sheng Luo. But they still found it embarrassing. Wang Teng disregarded Sheng Luo after provoking him. He jumped and entered the entrance that appeared above. And Lan and the others followed closely behind. They were curious and wanted to know what sort of treasure required so many defenses and secrecy. After entering the space above, they realized that it was no smaller than the rooms below, and there were all kinds of treasures too. However, these items were undoubtedly of a higher grade than the previous ones. "You've kept quite some treasures." Wang Teng nudged Sheng Luo. Sheng Luo's face was as black as ink. He wished he could strangle Wang Ting to death. Unfortunately, he could only rage in silence. Wang Ting chuckled and stopped stimulating him. He strolled around the room as he sized up his loot. Using his eyes of essence, he noticed a few areas where the force glow was extremely bright. These treasures were brighter than the other items. Naturally, he paid more attention to them. First, he walked in front of a crimson spiritual plant placed inside a jade bottle. There were runes carved on the jade, so the fluctuations of the spiritual plant were well hidden. However, Wang Teng could tell that it wasn't an ordinary human plant. There were 3 spiritual plants placed neatly and orderly in the jade bottle. They were crystal clear as if they were carved using rubies. "This is Scarlet Blood Spiritual Herb," Round Ball exclaimed in shock as it sat on Wang Teng's shoulder. "Scarlet Blood Spiritual Herb." Wang Teng was stunned. He nodded. "It has a long name, so it must be exceptional." Round Ball, F***K, this fellow's mind works in amazing ways. It didn't know why the value of a spiritual plant was based on the length of its name. "Cough, please continue," Wang Ting coughed awkwardly and said. As a Grandmaster alchemist, he didn't recognize this scarlet blood spiritual herb. This meant that the spiritual planet was extremely rare. Fortunately, Round Ball's database was huge, so it could be his narrator. "This is a rare spiritual plant that can purify one's bloodline and raise the talent of a star beast." Round Ball rolled its eyes as it explained briefly. Purify bloodline and raise the talent of a star beast. Wang Ting was dumbfounded. He didn't expect this spiritual plant to be so powerful. This wasn't something an ordinary spiritual herb could do. Normally, talent and bloodline were fixed at birth. It was hard to raise them, which was why many star beasts were stuck at the lower levels and couldn't achieve a breakthrough. Bloodline and talent were the biggest factors that limited their growth. It was the same for Little White and the metal armor flaming scorpion. If Wang Teng didn't give them resources without calculating the returns and aiding them in their growth, they would have had a difficult time advancing to the Emperor level. Of course, the divine flames were important too. Fortunately, they were fire element star beasts, so they could transform with the help of the divine flames. This allowed their talents to increase. You could say that Little White and metal armor flaming scorpion had benefited greatly as Wang Teng's pet. Oh wait, now, these scarlet blood spiritual herbs were theirs too. Wang Teng pondered for a moment and released Little White and the metal armor flaming scorpion. These 2 spiritual pets' abilities had risen greatly after the trip to the Flaming River world, especially after Wang Teng got the soul of Thousand Beasts Flame. They bathed in the soul of Thousand Beasts Flame every day, allowing their cultivation speed to shoot up. Now, Little White was at the 7th level of the Emperor level while the metal armor flaming scorpion was at the 6th level. He was about to catch up. The metal armor flaming scorpion felt bitter when Little White exceeded his cultivation. Hence, he practiced furiously, making his progress satisfying. As their ability increased, they got bigger too. The moment they appeared, the room was filled up. It was lucky that they didn't have the bloodline of a universe behemoth. Even at the Emperor level, a universe behemoth could grow to the size of Earth. "Master, why are you looking for me?" The metal armor flaming scorpion glanced at Wang Teng and said in a fawning tone. "Caw." Little White chipped in too. "1 inch, let me show you some good stuff." Wang Teng pointed at Scarlet Blood Spiritual Herb and smiled. The eyes of the 2 spiritual pets lit up. They leaned forward curiously, wanting to see what it was. Wang Teng never disappointed them whenever he summoned them to give them goodies. Thus, this wouldn't be an exception. But they didn't feel anything special because Scarlet Blood Spiritual Herb was hidden in the jade box. What's that? The metal armor flaming scorpion asked curiously. That's Scarlet Blood Spiritual Herb. It can raise your bloodline and talent. Wang Ting learned on the spot and regurgitated what Round Ball said. Raise bloodline and talent. Core. The metal armor flaming scorpion and Little White got excited. Bloodline and talent were mysterious things. They had suffered much because of them. When they advanced to the Emperor level, they could feel the restriction their bloodline and talent put on them. If this continued, after reaching the Imperial level, their speed of cultivation would slow down. It would never go back again. Even with the help of the Soul of Thousand Beasts Flame, they could at most maintain their current cultivation speed. Don't rush things. Round Ball said hurriedly. Why? Wang Ting was just about to feed the 2 Scarlet Blood Spiritual Herbs to his spiritual pets. He was surprised when Round Ball stopped him. Are you stupid? The Scarlet Blood Spiritual Herbs effect is the greatest after you refine them into dans. It's a waste to feed them directly. Only star beasts will do something so stupid, Round Ball said angrily. The metal armor flaming scorpion, Little White, they had received a huge blow. Cough. Wang Ting was embarrassed too. I don't know the recipe, so I won't be able to make the dan anyway. Why don't you ask the people in the Secondary Career Alliance? There will be an alchemist who knows, Round Ball replied speechlessly. Oh, right. Wang Ting touched his chin and turned to his spiritual pets. In that case, go back to where you come from. Go. Little White, oh metal armor flaming scorpion, oh, what did it feel like to have an unreliable master? They understood the feeling completely. They couldn't eat this appetizing Scarlet Blood Spiritual Herb. It was frustrating for them. They felt as if there were ants crawling on their hearts. They would rather not know about this plant. Wang Ting kept his 2 spiritual pets guiltily. Then, he stored the Scarlet Blood Spiritual Herb and started touring the area again. The second thick glow came from a star bone. It was a thigh bone and was as thick as a spiked club. There were occult silver patterns on the bone, and it was glowing. It appeared exceptional. Huh! Wang Ting only noticed what was different about this star bone after he got closer. This star bone feels. Round Ball couldn't pinpoint its feelings. It detected something, but it wasn't sure. Space power. Wang Ting was flabbergasted. He said in a low voice, it's space power. Since you said it, it means that I'm right. Round Ball nodded. I didn't think that you'll have a star bone with space power. Wang Ting looked at Sheng Luo in astonishment. Sheng Luo gave Wang Ting a snort to show that he didn't want to speak. His heart bled when he saw Wang Ting taking away his treasures one by one. He felt like he was stabbed with many holes, and he was aching so much that he wanted to die. This star bone with space power was an unexpected gain. He wanted to use it after he advanced to the universe stage, but now, his dream was destroyed. Ha ha ha. Wang Ting laughed heartily. The more frustrated his arrogant enemy was, the happier he was. He felt refreshed for some reason. Chapter 11:16, Water of Netherworld. This star bone is suitable for you, and Lan walked over and said enviously. A star bone with space power was the treasure among the treasures. It was extremely rare. If it was revealed, many universe stage martial warriors might come to snatch it. This was because universe stage martial warriors could use space power. They didn't have space talent, but their powerful abilities allowed them to be able to control space a little. You can use this to make a weapon, especially a spiritual weapon. That would be the best, Round Ball said. That's just my plan. Wang Ting nodded. His gaze landed on the other box beside the star bone. This was where the third dazzling light was. Wang Ting had a hunch when he noticed that it was placed beside the star bone. He opened the box. As expected, a star core appeared. It was silver-white with mysterious patterns all over it. There seemed to be a magical power flowing through the patterns. A star core with space power. Round Ball took a deep breath. It probably came from the same star beast as the star bone. The weapon will be even more perfect with this star core. Wang Ting smiled and kept it. You're so lucky. Round Ball shook its head and hurried him. Quick, let's see if there are other better things. I didn't expect a low-tier civilization to have so many good items. I'm getting curious. With a nod, Wang Ting came in front of the fourth ball of dazzling light. This time, they weren't much surprised. This was just a huge piece of ore. Although precious, it wasn't rare. It could be bought with money. Black metal mother ore. Many weapons use this ore, but the mother ore is more expensive, Round Ball said. Wang Ting knew this. He nodded and kept the ore. The fifth, the sixth, the seventh treasure. Wang Ting looked through the items one by one. There was a lot of good stuff above, but Wang Ting was able to accurately find the ones with the most value. Sheng Luo was in despair. His hopes that Wang Ting would overlook his treasures were dashed. This fellow had sharp eyes. No treasure could escape from him. Very soon, Wang Ting arrived in front of the last item. This was a container made from green wood. It was half the height of a person, and one person couldn't hug it. There was something inside. Open it, Round Ball urged him with curiosity. It was a weird way to store something. It wondered what was inside. Wang Ting opened the cap of the wooden container and saw a dull blue liquid silently floating inside. Wang Ting exchanged glances with Round Ball. Behind them, Lan, the leader of martial arts, and the others were puzzled too. They didn't know what this was. This is a bucket of water. Lan asked curiously. This isn't an ordinary bucket of water, right? Wang Ting asked with uncertainty. Isn't that nonsense? Round Ball rolled its eyes. Wang Ting didn't mind. He took a few steps closer, activated his eyes of essence, and observed the water. There aren't any reflections in the water. I can't see the bottom of the container either. Round Ball touched its chin, seemingly to be in deep thought. It was astounded too. Why don't we ask him? Dan Taixian glanced at Sheng Luo. President Sheng Luo, introduce this bucket of water, Wang Ting said. I don't know, Sheng Luo said coldly. It was natural for him to be rude and impolite. I knew you wouldn't cooperate. Wang Ting shook his head in disappointment. He walked towards Sheng Luo. What do you want to do? Sheng Luo asked in a low voice. Wang Ting smiled. He stared into Sheng Luo's eyes while a faint crimson glow shimmered in his eyes. Bewitch. You. Sheng Luo's expression changed. He released his spiritual power and tried his best to resist Wang Ting's spiritual invasion. However, Wang Ting was well prepared. When he activated his bewitch skill, he also released his spirit penetration, stabbing it right into Sheng Luo's forehead. Boom. Ah. Sheng Luo was caught off guard. His spirit suffered a grievous injury, and his face turned extremely pale. He let out a scream of pain. The bewitch skill took the chance to infiltrate his defenses. Sheng Luo's gaze turned hazy, he seemed to be struggling. However, after a few seconds, he lost control of his consciousness. This spiritual exchange was invisible. Outsiders didn't know what had happened. They only heard Sheng Luo's cry before he lost consciousness. Lan, the leader of martial arts, and the others were stunned. They stared at Wang Ting in bewilderment. What did he do? Wang Ting ignored them. He looked Sheng Luo in the eye and asked, What's this? Water of Netherworld, Sheng Luo replied in a monotonous tone. Water of Netherworld. Round Ball exclaimed in shock before Wang Ting could respond. You know what it is? Wang Ting turned and asked. I didn't imagine it at all. Wang Ting, your luck is heaven-defying. Round Ball took a deep breath. What on earth is it? Tell me quickly, Wang Ting said angrily. The water of Netherworld is of the same grade as your divine flames and the nether frost, Round Ball said in a low voice. The same grade as the divine flames. Wang Ting was stunned. Then, he was dumbstruck. He stared at the bucket of water in front of him and exclaimed, This thing is the same grade as the divine flames? Yes. Round Ball smiled and nodded in satisfaction upon seeing Wang Ting's reaction. The water of Netherworld is said to be divine water that flowed out of hell. Of course, this is just a rumor. I'm sure even Eternal Stage martial warriors won't know if the Netherworld exists. However, it's true that this water of Netherworld is powerful and mysterious. It can melt anything and everything. One drop is enough to destroy the physical body and soul of a heaven-stage martial warrior, Roundball said in a stern voice. It can melt everything. Wang Teng's expression changed. He didn't believe it. Are you kidding? Is it that scary? If you don't believe me, you can try with your nether frost. Let's see if it works, Roundball instigated him. Wang Teng glanced at it and gathered nether frost on his palm. He threw it into the water of Netherworld. Swoosh! A hissing sound was heard immediately. Under everyone's astounded gaze, the nether frost melted instantly. Oh my God! The leader of martial arts and the others were flabbergasted. They took a few steps back, not daring to get any closer. Even Lan was a little afraid. He knew how special Wang Teng's nether frost was, yet it melted instantly in the water of Netherworld. This proved how scary it was. No wonder it could destroy the physical body and the soul of a heaven-stage martial warrior with one drop. This wasn't a joke. Wang Teng's eyes widened in surprise. He looked at the water. No signs of the nether frost could be seen. The water of Netherworld was indeed mysterious and unpredictable. The nether frost didn't disappear because it melted due to high heat. Instead, it seemed to be corroded. It was disintegrated right to the core. Although the power of the nether frost had decreased tremendously after it lost Wang Teng's support, the water of Netherworld was still powerful as it could melt the nether frost instantly. Wang Teng was still doubtful though. He formed a small tongue of the emerald-glazed flame and threw it into the water of Netherworld. Piss! The emerald-glazed flame lasted a while longer, but it was also quickly corroded by the water of Netherworld. This water of Netherworld is terrifying. Lan exclaimed uncontrollably. How should I tame it? Wang Ting looked at Roundball with twinkling eyes. It's good that it's terrifying. I should be the one using this water of Netherworld. A normal person will have a troublesome time taming it, but you're different. Roundball smiled. Are you talking about the divine flames? Wang Teng's eyes lit up in understanding. That's right. The water of Netherworld can melt everything, but that depends on who it belongs to. It doesn't have a master yet, so you can control it with your divine flames temporarily and grab the chance to leave your spiritual mark on it. Then, this water of Netherworld will be yours. Roundball nodded in agreement. This is the same as taming a divine flame. I have experience, Wang Teng said light-heartedly with a smile. That's true. Wang Teng was in a good mood after getting this water of Netherworld. He couldn't control the smile on his face. The water of Netherworld can erode all matters and doesn't have any buoyancy. Any matter or person who falls in will drown, Roundball said. That's another special trait. Wang Teng was even more astonished. Suddenly, he had an idea. I can probably get unexpected results if I use it in my domain. Looks like you've already guessed it, Roundball said with a smile. Wang Teng felt the change in himself after his enlightenment increased to the cosmos stage. For instance, that eureka moment he had just now appeared quite frequently. He could think of ideas the moment someone gave him a hint. Wang Teng asked Sheng Luo a few more questions and got all the secrets of Saint Star Pagoda from him. Lan and the others were appalled. They felt their hearts turning cold. They didn't know how Wang Teng did this. This method was too scary. Sheng Luo finally woke up from the bewitched skill. He looked at Wang Ting in fright. Hey, you're awake! Wang Teng exclaimed. Sheng Luo woke up earlier than he had expected. What did you do to me? Sheng Luo asked with a black face. Nothing, I just asked you a few questions, Wang Teng replied calmly. Then, he kept the water of Netherworld in his space ring. Sheng Luo's eyelids jumped. It was obvious that he knew everything. With that skill, he wouldn't be able to keep any secrets. A sense of fear floated into his heart when he recalled the feeling of his consciousness being controlled. Come, there's nothing valuable here. Let's take a look at other places. Wang Teng smiled. Sheng Luo's expression turned hideous. This bastard wanted to turn the entire Saint Star Pagoda upside down. Chapter 1117, Save the Money We Can Save. Olent Federation was after all a civilization in the universe. Every civilization in the universe had at least tens of millions of years of history. The depth of their foundation was not something that Wang Ting and the others could imagine. And Saint Star Pagoda was established early when the Olent Federation was founded. Its history wasn't much shorter than that of the Olent Federation. That was why Saint Star Pagoda's foundation was extremely strong as well. The previous treasures were just the tip of the iceberg. Wang Ting then brought the others to a hall. Seeing the hall, Sheng Luo wanted to stop Wang Ting desperately. This was the scripture hall that contained Saint Star Pagoda's collection of scriptures and battle techniques. Every single one of them was inside. 2 Cosmos Stage martial warriors flew out when Wang Ting stood outside of the Great Hall. They were an old man and an old woman. The man was a martial warrior from the black scale race. He was short, and there were fine black scales on his face. The woman was from the fox race. The charm of the fox race had disappeared with old age, and she was just an ordinary old woman now. They were the guards of the scripture hall who lived in seclusion and rarely showed their faces. But now that Saint Star Pagoda was facing its biggest crisis, they had to step up and come forward. President. The 2 of them saw Sheng Luo and immediately knew that he had been captured. Their expressions changed a little. You. Let him be. Sheng Luo shook his head. The 2 of them hesitated. If the president of Saint Star Pagoda hadn't said it, they would have criticized the speaker. The scripture hall was the most important place in Saint Star Pagoda. This was the foundation that was accumulated over countless years. If anything went wrong, Saint Star Pagoda would be done for. I'll count to 3. If you don't move, you can go down and accompany Wallace, Wang Ting said calmly. What did you do to Vice President Wallace? The 2 elderly martial warriors were startled. He's dead. Wang Ting said indifferently. Dead. The 2 elderly martial warriors looked at Sheng Luo in disbelief. President, is that the truth? You are not his match. Let him be. Sheng Luo didn't reply and sighed in exasperation as he shook his head. Even so, the 2 elderly martial warriors knew the answer. It was clear that Wallace had died in front of the president and he couldn't do anything about it. It meant that this matter was out of their control. Sigh. The 2 Cosmos Stage martial warriors who had guarded the Great Hall for countless years sighed and stepped aside. Wang Ting smiled coldly and ignored them. He then gave an order to Bertha, Hardy, and the others, empty it. The expressions of Sheng Luo and the 2 elderly martial warriors changed. Although they had expected that it would be a disaster, they didn't expect Wang Ting to be so ruthless as to empty the whole place. It was clear that he didn't want to leave anything behind for them. Wang Ting strode into the scripture hall and saw celestial stage scriptures and battle techniques. There were many of them, probably in the tens of thousands. Tens of thousands of scriptures and battle techniques might seem few for civilization as large as the Olent Federation, but it was considered a lot. These scriptures and battle techniques were carefully selected and were considered to be of top quality. They were definitely among the best in Olent Federation. If ordinary martial warriors obtained them, they would be thrilled beyond measure. As for the Cosmos Stage scriptures and battle techniques, there were very few of them. There were only a handful of Heaven Stage scriptures, and they were placed in the deepest part of the hall. Wang Ting, I found the list of the scripture hall. Round Ball's voice sounded in Wang Ting's mind. Oh, let me see. Wang Ting's eyes lit up. He was too lazy to look at them one by one. It was much more convenient with the list. He could find useful scriptures and battle techniques at a glance. I'll transfer them into your wristwatch. Take a look at it yourself, Round Ball said. Wang Ting opened his wristwatch, and a screen appeared. It was the size of a tablet. After a while, he shook his head in disappointment. There was no scripture and battle technique that he was satisfied with. However, he only scrolled past a third of them. Bertha and the others walked over and saluted him. Master, the collection has been completed. Next stop. Wang Ting nodded and kept his wristwatch before walking out of the scripture hall. The leader of martial arts and the heads of the nations were hesitant to say anything. Their eyes went red after looking at all these scriptures and battle techniques. If Earth could obtain these resources, the foundation of the martial warriors would not be a problem. Their strength would rise greatly. Unfortunately, this was Wang Teng's loot, and they didn't have the authority to take it for themselves. After a while, they came over to another building. It was the access port to St. Star Pagoda's virtual universe. There were many valuable connection devices for the virtual universe. Move them. Wang Teng didn't say anything else. He waved his hand and got people to do it for him. Each helmet for the virtual universe was worth tens of thousands of UC. They weren't cheap and shouldn't be wasted. We should save the money we can save. Move them. Move them. Move them all. Next, whenever he went to a place, Wang Ting wouldn't let go of anything valuable. He moved almost everything that could be moved from the St. Star Pagoda. The whole city was ransacked. When Wang Teng and the others were about to leave, Sheng Luo's face was ashen. He was shaking with rage. Boom. The Flaming River spacecraft left St. Star Pagoda and headed to the capital of Olant Planet. The people of the St. Star Pagoda saw the tail of the Flaming River spacecraft and gritted their teeth with fury. Their eyes were filled with hatred. Damn it. These Earthlings must pay the price in the future, the few remaining Cosmos Stage martial warriors said furiously. Wang Teng didn't know that the people of St. Star Pagoda were boiling in anger. Even if he knew, he wouldn't take it to heart. There was nothing to worry about people who were dying. The capital of Olant Planet was located in the center. It was the political, economic, and cultural center of the Olant Federation. It was more prosperous, livelier, and richer than St. Star Pagoda. However, there was chaos today. Olant Federation's 3 Heaven Stage martial warriors had been captured, and their headquarters had been invaded. Now that the St. Star Pagoda was in devastation, it was impossible for the capital to be spared. When Wang Teng and the others left the St. Star Pagoda, the top officials of the Olant Federation received the news and were now discussing countermeasures. In a great hall, a group of martial warriors of different races was expressing their opinions loudly. It was a mess. Everyone, be quiet. Facing such chaos, an elder from the Three Eyes race frowned and bellowed. Everyone looked at him. This was the commander of Olant Federation's Universe Fleet, the person with the highest position in the Olant Federation. Commander Nehemiah, I think we should leave Olant Planet quickly before the enemies arrive. We should avoid them temporarily. That's right. Their strength is far superior to ours. A futile resistance is unwise. We should hurry and leave. We can retain our strength. When they leave, we can still rebuild the Olant Federation. These top officials of the Olant Federation wanted to escape, but they talked as though they were thinking about the future of the Olant Federation. Commander Nehemiah glared at them, his 3 eyes widening. He didn't think that these bastards would be so self-righteous and shameless. Enough! He roared. The voices all around disappeared. Everyone turned silent as they looked at Nehemiah blankly. Olant Federation is in danger, and you are thinking of deserting? Where is your dignity? Rebuild. Your ideas are really great. Our 3 Heaven Stage martial warriors are still in the enemy's hands. Without them, how are you going to rebuild Olant Federation? I think you're just trying to escape, cowards. Commander Nehemiah's yells echoed in everyone's ears. Their expressions were ugly. When his sharp gaze swept over, everyone was filled with guilt as they avoided eye contact. Nehemiah scoffed and continued, Do you really think you can leave Olant Federation? This is the image that was transmitted from space. See it for yourself. A satellite image from space appeared on the screen in front of everyone. There was a huge spacecraft that resembled a pyramid. It floated quietly in space, with a cold metallic luster on its surface. Mecha race spacecraft. There was an abrupt exclamation. Chapter 11:18. The sun was out, the rain had stopped. They felt alive again. A mecha race spacecraft. Why is there a mecha race spacecraft here? There was a huge uproar in the Olant Federation. The people stared at the pyramid-shaped giant spacecraft in disbelief. The mecha race's spacecraft were unique. Normally, they were shaped like a pyramid, with the symbol of the mecha race carved on them. They were easily recognizable. The mecha race spacecraft were known for their power. At the same level, they were much scarier. They could escape under the supervision of this mecha spacecraft, but they would be discovered. When the universe-level spacecraft arrived, they wouldn't be able to escape. Now, do you still think you can run away? Commander Nehemiah said coldly. Everyone's expression turned ugly. They returned to their seats dejectedly. Look, someone wants to leave the Olant planet, someone exclaimed suddenly. There were many people with the same thought as them. They were either members of elite families or the higher authorities from various cities. When they realized that the Olant Federation was in danger, they chose to escape without any hesitation. This was understandable. Every man for himself in times of danger. But they didn't know what was waiting for them in the universe. Boom, boom, boom. These spacecraft that flew out of the Olant planet exploded instantly and turned into cosmic dust. Silence. The entire Great Hall was silent. One could even hear a feather dropping. The higher authorities that wanted to escape felt a chill down their spine. They felt fortunate that they didn't leave. If not, this might have been their ending. Commander Nehemiah, what do you think we should do? One of the members gulped. He called Nehemiah by his title. However, the moment he spoke, everyone received a message on their wristwatch. Their expressions changed. The enemy was here. Nehemiah's expression turned gloomy. He switched the image on the screen and looked at the situation in the sky above the main city. A gigantic spacecraft floated down before hovering above their city. Everyone lost their voices. They stared at the spacecraft in silence as if it was a sharp sword. Guys, there's only one choice for us. Commander Nehemiah took a deep breath and said. Please tell us. The crowd looked at him. Surrender. Commander Nehemiah paused for a few seconds before opening his mouth again. The word expanded all his energy. After saying it, he became dispirited. He seemed to have aged tremendously. Everyone was appalled. First, they were shocked that the unyielding Commander Nehemiah had revealed such an expression. Next, it was the word he said. Surrender. Surrendering to an Earthling was a great humiliation. They could choose to escape and fool themselves, but they couldn't accept bowing their arrogant heads to an Earthling. We'll die if we don't surrender, Commander Nehemiah continued in a low voice. Is there any other way? Someone asked unwillingly. Everyone remained silent. They knew the answer already. Wow, it's lively here. A voice broke the gloomy atmosphere. The door was kicked open with a loud bang, and a young figure walked in. The crowd's expressions changed. Their pupils constricted violently. While they were still hesitating, the other party reached their doorstep. He gave them no chance to react. Moreover, they didn't notice his arrival. What kind of ability was this? They could only use scary to describe him. Nice to meet you. Wang Ting entered the Great Hall and smiled as he scanned his surroundings. He greeted the people warmly. Everyone was stunned. They had an illusion that this young man wasn't their enemy. Instead, he was an old friend who traveled a long way to visit them, as if. They looked past the young man and saw a few martial warriors dragging Heaven Lord Tu Jin and Bartlett in. They knew that these two universe lords were heavily injured, but they were still dumbfounded when they saw their states. The injuries were so heavy, they only had one last breath left. These powerful presences in the Olant Federation were beaten up so badly. It was unbelievable. There was a hint of fear in their gazes as they looked at Wang Ting. Don't be nervous. I don't eat people, Wang Ting said with a smile. He walked into the Great Hall as if he was familiar with this place and found a seat to sit down. Everyone was speechless. Do you think we'll believe you? Mister, how may I address you? Commander Nehemiah stood up and asked. Wang Ting. Mr. Wang Ting, what are the requirements for you to release these three universe lords? Nehemiah looked at Tu Jin, Bartlett, and Sheng Luo and sighed. I spent a lot of effort to catch them. I can't let them go. Wang Ting shook his head. Nehemiah's heart sank. We can discuss. If it's a money issue, we can sit down and discuss it, Nehemiah said hurriedly. All of you wanted to destroy Earth. This isn't a simple issue about money. But Nehemiah wanted to speak, but Wang Ting interrupted him. He said indifferently, all right, I didn't come here to chat with you. I'll give you two choices, live or die. What do you choose? The atmosphere tensed up. Everyone held their breaths and stared at Wang Ting. What do we have to do if we want to live? Someone broke the silence after some time. Simple. Use the money to buy your lives. The crowd was caught between laughter and tears. This was a simple and direct method. But many people heaved a sigh of relief. Any problem that could be solved with money wasn't a problem. Everyone from the Olent Federation gave a confident smile. The sun was out, and the rain had stopped. They felt alive again. I'm a kind fellow. Every family can just give me 500 billion UC. Wang Ting opened his mouth lazily. Fart. How much? Some people were taking a sip of water to calm their nerves. They spat the water out in shock. 500 billion? They couldn't even find 300 billion. This was UC, not OFC. Even if they dug out all their assets, they could only collate 200 billion UC. He was asking for their lives. No, we don't have that much money. Even if you kill me, I don't have so much money. This isn't about money. You're asking us to die. The members of the Olent Federation shook their heads with unsightly expressions. They felt that Wang Ting was asking too much. Don't be impatient. Watch the performance I prepared for you guys first. Wang Ting waved his hand. The moment he finished speaking, the image on the screen changed, displaying the Saint Star Pagoda. It was a shot taken from the sky. Everyone stared at Wang Ting in confusion. Why was he suddenly showing them the footage of the Saint Star Pagoda? Mr. Wang Ting, we know what you did to the Saint Star Pagoda. However, we really don't have 500 billion, some of the people said contemptuously. They thought that Wang Ting was using the Saint Star Pagoda to threaten them. Boom. A loud explosion gave the unsuspecting crowd a scare. Flames as tall as trees shot into the air on the screen, and the Saint Star Pagoda turned into a sea of fire and ruins. The people from the Olent Federation widened their eyes in a daze. Their pupils constricted as they stared at the scene on the screen. The Saint Star Pagoda was gone. Wang Ting. Sheng Luo was the first to react. His eyes turned bloodshot, and he glared at Wang Ting like an injured wild beast, roaring angrily. He destroyed the Saint Star Pagoda. How could he? How dare he? The destruction of the Saint Star Pagoda came too suddenly. Sheng Luo didn't expect this, so he was caught off guard. His spirit was about to collapse. A heaven stage martial warrior's spirit was damaged. This proved how great the stimulation was. He spent almost all his life building the Saint Star Pagoda. It was like his child. Yet, it was gone. It was destroyed so easily. Ruthless. Wang Ting should die. Sheng Luo was raging in his heart. His gaze turned vicious and his hatred towards Wang Ting reached its peak. Don't stare at me or I might kill you on impulse, Wang Ting replied indifferently. You. Sheng Luo panted. He glared at Wang Ting. He had never hated someone so much. But in the end, he lowered his head, standing at the side like a lifeless piece of wood. Wang Ting snorted. He knew Sheng Luo's plan. He wanted to fight for the last chance of survival so that he could take revenge in the future. Sheng Luo was definitely a brutal person, but Wang Ting wasn't worried. Sheng Luo would definitely die. He could let anyone go but Sheng Luo. Wang Ting didn't kill him because he wanted to destroy everything he cared about before killing him. This was his answer to the people on Earth. How is it? Is it a good show? Wang Ting ignored Sheng Luo and smiled at the others. Silence. Dead silence. There was not a peep. The people from the Olent Federation held their breaths. Cold sweat dripped down their foreheads as they stared at Wang Ting in fear. This was a devil. He must be a devil. So, what do you think of my suggestion? Wang Ting asked. Good, the suggestion is good. We have no objections. The people from the Olent Federation regained their senses and agreed hurriedly. I knew that everyone would agree. Wang Ting nodded in satisfaction. The leader of martial arts, Lan, and the others felt their lips twitching. The people from the Olent Federation wanted to complain, but no one dared to say anything. I'll give you 2 hours. 2 hours later, come here to pay your money. You can leave now, Wang Ting looked at his wristwatch and gave his ultimatum. The people from the Olent Federation left unwillingly. They had to gather all their savings. Chapter 1119, Owner of the Milky Way. 1. After the people from the Olent Federation left, Lan turned to Wang Ting and asked, "Isn't it a bit too much to ask them for so much money?" The leader of martial arts and the others looked over too. They had the same thought and felt that Wang Ting was asking for too much. That was 500 billion UC. Goodness! What sort of concept was that? They could buy Earth with this much money. They weren't taking pity on the people from the Olent Federation. They were just afraid that the other party might do something out of desperation. They would have tried to play dumb if I hadn't forced them. They're sly people, Wang Ting said in disdain. As long as you know what you're doing. Lan shrugged. What do you plan to do with these Heaven Stage martial warriors? Wang Ting touched his chin and looked at the Heaven Lords. Sheng Luo's heart palpitated. Wang Ting had never thought of letting him go. Was this his final moment? President Sheng Luo, are you scared? Wang Ting looked at him with a smile. Sheng Luo's face turned black. He closed his eyes and pretended that he didn't see anything. Wang Ting stopped teasing him. He smiled, took out 2 low-class healing potions, and flicked them with his fingers. They flew into 2 Jin and Bartlett's mouths. The 2 Heaven Lords had fainted from their heavy injuries. Wang Ting didn't have the time to care about them before, but he was free now. He planned to go through the accounts with them properly. After consuming the potions, the 2 Heaven Lords opened their eyes slowly. Cough, cough. 2 Jin coughed out a mouthful of blood and opened his eyes. His mind was still in a whirl. His memory lingered at the final moment of the explosion. I'm not dead. Ha ha ha, he laughed uncontrollably. He was a little excited. This was the happiness of surviving a crisis. At that time, he thought that he was about to die. He would die in the hands of an Earthling who hadn't reached the cosmos stage. That was a huge humiliation. But he didn't. He was still alive even though he was heavily injured. Oh right, who saved me? A thought appeared in his mind. He raised his head with difficulty and sized up his surroundings. Very soon, he realized that the environment was familiar. They had meetings here frequently, so he recognized this place at once. He heaved a sigh of relief since he was in his own territory. Did Nehemiah save me? 2 Jin thought to himself silently. Why are you so happy? Why don't you share the happiness with everyone? Wang Ting leaned over and chuckled. 2 Jin's expression froze. He raised his head with difficulty and saw the face that was etched deep in his heart. You. He stared at Wang Ting as if he were a ghost. The leader of martial arts and others looked at him with sympathy. This fellow was happy too early. Why did he laugh so loudly? Was he afraid that others wouldn't hear him? Are you surprised? Wang Ting sniggered. 2 Jin, to hell with surprise. It was a huge scare instead. Why are you here? He asked with a frown. Look at what you're saying. The only 3 Heaven Lords in the Olent Federation are in my hands. I can go anywhere in the Olent Federation, Wang Ting said with disdain. Phut, cough. Heaven Lord Bartlett woke up too. He vomited a mouthful of black blood. Bartlett. 2 Jin called him. 2 Jin. Bartlett understood the situation immediately and sighed in sorrow. We lost. You're right. You lost. Wang Ting stared down at the 2 of them and said in a calm tone. What do you want? 2 Jin gritted his teeth. Pay a price that I'm satisfied with and I might let you go, Wang Ting said slowly. Okay. How much do you want? I can give it to you. 2 Jin twirled his pupils and nodded. I don't lack money, Wang Ting replied. What else do you want? Bartlett asked. I want territories. The Milky Way. 2 Jin and Bartlett understood him immediately. You're not stupid, Wang Ting praised. It wasn't easy to get the rights of a galaxy. There was a long list of procedures. Wang Ting couldn't just snatch it because he wanted to. That was why he kept the 2 Heaven Lords. He needed them to agree to this suggestion and get authorization on the virtual network before he could proceed. Don't be fooled by him. He had never thought of letting us go, Sheng Luo said coldly. Tu Jin and Bartlett's expressions changed. They stared at Wang Ting in doubt. You're really evil. You're about to die, but you still want to drag your companions with you. To think you guys are friends. Wang Ting clicked his tongue. What do you mean? Tu Jin asked. I will definitely kill President Sheng Luo. He's the mastermind behind everything. Wang Ting paused before he continued, but, as for the two of you, although he didn't finish his sentence, Tu Jin and Bartlett understood him. Wang Ting had a reason to kill Sheng Luo, but he didn't have to kill them. That was why they had the chance to live. Their gazes shimmered. Sheng Luo's expression turned hideous. His heart sank upon seeing their expressions. What a sly person Wang Ting was. One sentence was enough to pull them apart. Tu Jin and Bartlett were now on his opposite side. He knew that it was useless to say anything now. His former comrades were starting to have other thoughts. Chapter 11:20, Owner of the Milky Way. 2. Think about it carefully. The result won't make a difference to me, Wang Ting said in a relaxed manner. 2 hours passed quickly. The higher authorities from the Olent Federation came back to the Great Hall. They felt a little awkward when they saw Tu Jin and Bartlett. What are you guys doing? Lord Tu Jin, Lord Bartlett, we want to save you, but we can't even protect ourselves now. We don't have a choice. That's right. Every one of us needs to pay 500 billion UC or we will get killed. We have no other way. Sigh, please pardon us. The people from the Olent Federation spoke one after another. Tu Jin and Bartlett wanted to vomit blood from anger. These people were afraid of death and wanted to throw them away. What a bunch of ungrateful fellows. All right, you can pay the money before chatting with them. Wang Ting waved his hand and said impatiently. Yes, yes. No one dared to refute him. They transferred the money to Wang Ting's account. Nobody tried to play any tricks here. In an instant, Wang Ting's balance increased by more than 8 trillion. It was a huge income. He earned back the cost of using the universe-level spacecraft and even made a profit. You can leave now. Wang Ting shooed the people from the Olent Federation away. He didn't want to kill these people. He had no direct grudges against them. His real enemies were Sheng Luo and a few others. He might have extorted money from them, but based on their cowardly attitude, they wouldn't dare to create trouble for him. They could only swallow the frustration. Even if they did come to find him, he could activate his universe-level spacecraft and shoot them down. Bartlett and Tu Jin started to believe him when they saw Wang Ting letting these people go after collecting their money. We can give you the rights of the Milky Way, but you must release us first. Tu Jin hesitated before opening his mouth. Sheng Luo's expression changed. In the end, they chose to save themselves and disregard him. No. Wang Ting shook his head. You must pass me the Milky Way first or I'll rather kill you. Tu Jin and Bartlett's expressions changed slightly. They didn't expect Wang Ting to be so resolute. I'll give you 10 more minutes. After that, don't blame me for not giving you a chance, Wang Ting continued calmly. Then, he closed his eyes and waited. Time passed. 10 minutes went by in the blink of an eye. Tu Jin and Bartlett eventually gave in. Acrite, we will hand you the Milky Way first. Tu Jin gritted his teeth. Smart choice. Wang Ting smiled. Although Tu Jin and Bartlett were exasperated, they could only submit to fate. They entered the virtual universe and arrived at the location of the Virtual Universe Corporation. As the creator and possessor of the virtual universe, the Virtual Universe Corporation was an extremely powerful company. Their status was so high that even high-tier civilizations like the Great Qian Empire couldn't surpass them. In the Great Qian mainland of the virtual universe, the Virtual Universe Corporation was on a floating island with an area of 30,000 square kilometers. There was a special privilege if you wanted to go to the Virtual Universe Corporation. No matter where you were, you could land on the island directly. You need not have to be transported again. Wang Teng's vision blurred, and he realized that he had come to a vast island. There weren't many people here, but everyone that walked by him had a powerful aura. They were either universe stage or heaven stage and above martial warriors. The virtual universe could replicate a martial warrior's ability. Hence, these people were formidable warriors in real life too. This island is called the Sky of Stars Island. How arrogant! Wang Ting sized up his surroundings and exclaimed in surprise. Shush, softer. Round Ball appeared on Wang Ting's shoulder and covered his mouth hurriedly. You're getting bold. The Virtual Universe Corporation is the boss of the virtual universe. How dare you talk bad about them in their territory? Aren't you worried about creating trouble for yourself? All right. My fault. Wang Ting knew that he couldn't offend this company, so he shut up. Round Ball heaved a sigh of relief. The Virtual Universe Corporation's branch is called Sky of Stars Island to represent the stars in the sky. Their main office's location is the real amazing one. Do you know what it's called? What? Wang Ting asked. World Island. Round Ball said in a deep tone. World Island. Wang Ting was astounded. He could tell how powerful the Virtual Universe Corporation was by its name. Their main island was called the World Island. It used the world to name its address. What an imposing and bold company. Who can be better than me? Even Wang Ting had to agree that the Virtual Universe Corporation was a boss of the universe. He started to feel respect toward them. Wang Ting and the Heaven Lords flew toward the middle of the island. The office of the Virtual Universe Corporation was a group of buildings. After Wang Ting and the Heaven Lords landed, a female staff came to welcome them immediately. What service are you looking for? We want to change the proprietary rights of a galaxy. Tu Jin and Bartlett exchanged glances with each other and said. They wouldn't change their minds at the last moment. The change of proprietary rights? The staff was a little surprised too. She hurriedly raised her hand and led the way. Please follow me. They were led into an administrative building and guided to an extravagant waiting room. Misters, nice to meet you. I'm the manager of the Virtual Universe Corporation Great Chen Branch. A middle-aged man wearing a red gown with silver-white scales on it came out and greeted them. Heaven's stage. Wang Ting's gaze flickered. Even a manager was at the Heaven's stage. Are you here to change the proprietary rights of a galaxy? The middle-aged man asked. Yes. Wang Ting nodded. Please have a seat. The middle-aged man raised his hand and invited them to sit. After they sat down, he continued. Which galaxy will you like to change? The Milky Way, Olent Federation, low-tier civilization under the Great Chen Empire, Tu Jin said. All right. The middle-aged man operated on the device in front of him and found the location of the Milky Way. A star chart appeared in front of them, displaying the Milky Way. Please confirm. Confirmed. Tu Jin hesitated but still nodded in the end. He sighed in his heart. Who do you want to transfer it to? The middle-aged man disregarded his hesitation. Under my name, Wang Ting said. Please enter your virtual account. Wang Ting followed his instructions. Mr. Wang Ting, you're a baron of the Great Chen Empire and you already have a galaxy under you, the middle-aged man exclaimed in surprise. He could see that Wang Ting was just a celestial stage martial warrior. He didn't expect him to be a baron of the Great Chen Empire. Moreover, he already had a galaxy as his fief. His attitude toward Wang Ting changed at once as he started treating him with more respect. That's right. Wang Ting nodded. Okay. If there's no objection, under the witness of the Virtual Universe Corporation and with your free will, the Milky Way will be transferred to Baron Wang Ting. No objection. No objection. The notarization has been established. Your voices are recorded and the Milky Way has been transferred to Baron Wang Ting. It wasn't the middle-aged man who spoke this time. It was a robotic voice. Wang Ting immediately noticed that the proprietary rights of the Milky Way had changed. It happened very quickly. It was already under his name. From now on, he was the real owner of the Milky Way. Chapter 1121. F***K. This young man is unsporting. In the real world, Olent Planet, main city, the leader of martial arts and the heads of the nations were overjoyed when they learned that Wang Ting had successfully become the owner of the Milky Way. This was great. Wang Teng was a resident of Earth and the owner of the Milky Way. The entire galaxy was under his control. Earth was part of the galaxy, so it was undoubtedly safer. This was like a level of protection. The Milky Way was the outer shell. If other aliens wanted to invade Earth, they had to break through this outer shell first. The people from the Olent Federation felt bitter when they saw how happy the leader of martial arts and the others were. They wore complex expressions on their faces. The Olent Federation had one less galaxy under its control. Their hearts were bleeding. They started to feel a tinge of regret. They shouldn't have offended Wang Ting for the benefits Cao Hongtu promised them. They were shooting themselves in the foot. Not just that, but the bullet was also huge. It was extremely painful. Wang Ting, we have given you the Milky Way. Can you let us go now? Tu Jin asked. No problem. I mean what I say. Wang Ting nodded. Tu Jin and Bartlett looked at each other. There was happiness in their eyes. Wang Ting wasn't planning to eat his word. Honestly, they were worried that Wang Ting would go back on his promise. There was nothing binding their agreement. It was just a verbal deal. But they didn't have a choice. Their lives were in Wang Ting's hands. He told them that they only had two choices. They could either agree or die. Thus, they had to take the risk for the sake of their lives. Fortunately, their gamble paid off. You can leave now. Wang Ting ordered someone to open their seal so that they could leave. Tu Jin and Bartlett were overjoyed. They used whatever force they had left and flew out of the door with their injured bodies. They didn't want to stay here any longer. They wanted to leave this place as soon as possible and come back only after Wang Teng left. Sheng Luo's expression was hideous. He watched them leave in dejection, feeling abandoned. Tu Jin and Bartlett rushed out of the place. When they could no longer see Wang Teng, they revealed a sinister expression. Their eyes were filled with hatred. H, we will take revenge one day. Tu Jin turned back and spat angrily. That's right. I won't be able to rest in peace if I don't take revenge. Bartlett's gaze was filled with hatred and bitterness. He felt humiliated. Let's leave the Olent planet and return after recuperating. Tu Jin flew into the sky. Bartlett followed closely behind him. Right then, they felt a sense of danger. A chill zapped down their spines, and their heads went numb. They turned around in bewilderment. Boom! Boom! Two force attacks shot toward them from the universe-level spacecraft. No. Why? Their pupils constricted into needles as they screamed in anger. There was only one thought left in their minds. Didn't he agree to let us go? F***K, this young man is devious. They were too careless. There was no way to dodge the attack now. They got swallowed by the light and were killed. Everyone was stunned when they heard the loud explosion. What happened? The leader of martial arts was puzzled. Let's go and take a look. Wang Teng led the way out. Two large and deep holes had appeared on the ground with smoke coming out of them. Broken pieces of armor were scattered everywhere. Aren't these the armor of the two heaven lords? Dan Taixian recognized the style of the armor. She stared at Wang Teng strangely. Really? Wang Teng was surprised. He looked around. Was there an accident? Cough. The leader of martial arts and the others weren't stupid. They immediately understood what happened and started coughing awkwardly. Act. Continue acting. Sheng Luo stared at the holes with a sorrowful expression. Then, he suddenly smirked. His emotions were complex. Master, the flaming river accidentally launched an attack and shot the two heaven lords to death. Bertha walked over and reported with an odd expression and a flickering gaze. Look at what you've done. How can you be so careless? I've already let them go, but they still died. You're making things difficult for me, Wang Ting said angrily. Everyone, Sheng Luo, how could he be so shameless? It's my fault. I didn't train them properly. Please punish me. Bertha lowered her head and admitted her mistake. It's all right. The person is dead. What's the point of punishing you? Wang Ting shook his head with a sigh. Everyone was speechless. They were complaining in their hearts. This drama king, he acted the entire scene alone. They couldn't even interrupt him. Some people felt that Wang Ting was cold-blooded and ruthless too. However, most of them were relieved. After all, they didn't feel at ease letting two Heaven Lords go. Only a dead person posed no threat. Not bad. You're a sly person. You fooled the two Heaven Lords. You got the Milky Way and killed them. There's no better solution, Round Ball commented in his mind. What are you saying? I don't understand. Wang Ting pretended to be confused. TSK. Round Ball rolled its eyes in contempt and ignored Wang Ting. The corners of Wang Ting's lips lifted up slightly. He looked in front and saw a few attribute bubbles floating there. Constellation Force, Metal, *6000 Metal Domain *3000 Celestial Realm Spirit *1500 Cosmos Realm Enlightenment *1100 Constellation Force, Water, *5600 Water Domain *2400 Celestial Realm Spirit *1200 Cosmos Realm Enlightenment *1000 Advanced Stage Disguise Talent *500. Wang Ting was delighted after absorbing these attribute bubbles. There was nothing to say about the constellation Metal Force and Water Force. Both increased by a few thousand points, but it wasn't enough for a breakthrough. Then, there were the domain attributes. There were 3,000 points of Metal Domain. Wang Ting was elated that these 3,000 points allowed his Metal Domain to advance to the 4th rank. Metal Domain, 1254,000, 4th rank. 4th rank domain was much more powerful than the 3rd rank domain. Moreover, he received a new domain, Water Domain. Wang Ting had just tamed the water of Netherworld and was trying to comprehend the Water Domain. He didn't expect it to arrive at his doorstep voluntarily. After absorbing the Water Domain attribute, he felt knowledge surging into his mind. Water had no form. Great kindness is like water. Everything comes from the heart. Water can both be weak and strong. The enlightenment merged into Wang Ting's memory and became a part of him. He got the Water Domain just like that, even raising it to the 2nd rank. Water Domain, 1400 2000, 2nd rank. When he opened his eyes, there was a blue fluctuation, which disappeared within a split second. It looked extremely divine. Next were the Spirit and the Enlightenment attributes. Both of them rose greatly, allowing him to reach a new height. Finally, the attribute he cared about the most and that made him the happiest was the last one. Advanced Stage Disguise Talent. This was a special talent attribute bubble. Wang Ting hadn't received a talent attribute bubble in a long time. Finally, he saw one again, and it was a useful one at that. He suddenly remembered what Round Ball said in the past. It mentioned that the Heaven Lord with green skin might be a Luke. Lukes were known for their disguise talent. Obviously, its guess was right. After this attribute bubble merged into his body, Wang Ting noticed a strange transformation happening inside him. He felt that he could change his physical body as he wished. This transformation was more powerful than the morph talent he had. He received the morph talent from the strange jello-like creature in the Xingwu continent, so there was a huge limit to its use. A powerful martial warrior would be able to see through his disguise easily by looking at his aura. However, this advanced stage disguise talent was different. Besides changing his physical form, it possessed certain disguise traits too. That meant that once he activated this talent, Wang Ting could disguise himself right from the core. No one would notice anything. This was an amazing talent. Indeed, it was the right choice to kill these two Heaven Lords. If not, he wouldn't be able to receive so many attribute bubbles. Wang Ting gave himself a thumbs up for making a smart decision. There was one more. He should take care of him now. With this thought in mind, he turned and gave Sheng Luo a dangerous glare. There were no expressions on his face as he said, "Sheng Luo, it's time for you to die." Bang! Sheng Luo had predicted this result. His force suddenly exploded and his face turned red. Veins popped out of his skin like crawling snakes. Splurt! He vomited a mouthful of blood. Using a secret skill, he forcefully extracted himself from Wang Teng's seal. With his aura surging, force erupted. Sheng Luo stepped on the ground, turned into a beam of light, and dashed toward the horizon. This was the only chance. He would be able to escape once he got out of the universe-level spacecraft's attacking range. Futile struggle. A cold glint shot out of Wang Teng's eyes. He snorted and soared into the sky too. And Lan's expression changed slightly. He turned into a beam of light and chased after Sheng Luo. The other people finally reacted. They were appalled. Quick, activate the spacecraft and chase after them. Hardy and Bertha charged toward the spacecraft. Round Ball had already activated the flaming river. It shot into the sky. Boom, boom, boom. Force attacks shot out continuously, aimed straight at Sheng Luo. And Lan waved his hand. The Thousand Armaments vessel turned into a black ray of light and cut through space, appearing a few hundred meters behind Sheng Luo. Sword aura exploded as he slashed at him. At the same time, a universe-level sword appeared in Wang Teng's hand. He was traveling at a high speed too. The Godslayer sword scripture, slaying God. A sword glow with space conscious cut through space and slashed out in front of Sheng Luo. Sheng Luo was attacked from the front and rear. He fell in despair. Roar. Sheng Luo bellowed like a cornered wild beast. He tried his best to resist. However, it was all in vain. Soon, a figure fell from the sky and crashed into the ground with a loud bang. Chapter 1122. A dead end for the Olent Federation. Taming the water of Netherworld. The battle ended within a few minutes. Sheng Luo was unwilling to accept death, so he took one last shot. Unfortunately, he still lost. Losing meant death. Wang Teng and An Lan flew down from the sky and stood at the edge of the deep hole. Sheng Luo was lying in the center with his arms and legs spread out. His battle armor was broken with two terrifying sword slashes forming an X in front of his chest. Fresh blood gushed out. The ground below him cracked like a spiderweb. He used his last ounce of strength to raise his head and look at Wang Teng. The bitterness in his eyes was intense. Wang Teng looked back into his eyes indifferently. No sounds were heard. Ha ha ha. After some time, Sheng Luo laughed. He continued laughing like a maniac even though he was coughing blood. He sounded like a revengeful spirit. I'll be waiting for you in hell. His laughter died down, and he spoke in a calm voice. Wang Teng raised his sword and the president of the Saint Star Pagoda perished. What is hell? Wang Teng muttered to himself. He didn't take Sheng Luo's words to heart. He kept his sword and picked up the attribute bubbles around him happily. Constellation Force, Earth, *8000 Meteorite Shower Domain *3400 Celestial Realm Spirit *1600 Cosmos Realm Enlightenment *1500. What a good guy. He left me some good attribute bubbles at the end. Wang Teng's eyes lit up in elation. These attribute bubbles were better than the ones Tu Jin and Bartlett dropped before their death. What a pleasant surprise. He knew that Sheng Luo must have released all his power, resulting in these attribute bubbles. Wang Teng suddenly remembered the catfish effect on Earth. Fishermen kept some ferocious catfish in a tank of tightly packed sardines. This would allow the sardines to continue moving to keep them alive longer and fresher. Live fish tasted better. It wasn't hard to understand, right? If Sheng Luo knew that Wang Teng was comparing him to a sardine, would he crawl out from the ground and fight with him? Wang Teng's attributes rose again as these bubbles merged into his body. The main attribute was the Meteorite Shower Domain. 3,400 points of Meteorite Shower Domain allowed this attribute to advance to the third level. Meteorite Shower Domain, 1900 3000, third level, good. My planetary devastation is ready. Wang Teng touched his chin and thought to himself happily. The leader of martial arts and the others inched forward while feeling emotional. All three Heaven Stage martial warriors in the Olent Federation had been tricked and killed by Wang Teng. They died an unwilling death. They wouldn't have believed it if they didn't witness it personally. These were Heaven Stage martial warriors, not some random passerby on the street. It felt incredible that they died this way. Everything here is settled. Let's go back, Wang Teng said. You're right. Quick, inform everyone about this piece of good news, the leader of martial arts said. He felt refreshed. 3 Heaven Lords were dead. They took their revenge and the Olent Federation wasn't a threat anymore. This was great news for Earth. No one lagged behind. They boarded the flaming river and headed straight into the universe. They finally left. The people from the Olent Federation raised their heads and heaved a sigh of relief when they saw the giant spacecraft leaving. They could finally breathe properly. Nehemiah came out of the Great Hall and watched the scene with a complicated expression. Sorrow was welling up in his heart. All 3 Heaven Lords were dead. The Olent Federation was only an empty title. The other party was ruthless, giving them no chances. Hatred bubbled in Nehemiah's heart. He clenched his fists in frustration. Look, what's that? A sudden exclamation broke his train of thought. Nehemiah raised his head and saw a beam of light plummeting down at high speed. Nothing could be seen in his pupils except the glaring light. Boom! In the universe, the leader of martial arts and the others stared at the scene below using the panoramic simulation mode of the spacecraft. They got fooled by Wang Teng again. At the last moment, he still gave the Olent Federation a blow when the higher authorities were all gathered in front of the Great Hall. The Olent Federation would probably have to break up now. Perfect. Wang Teng ignored everyone's reaction. He returned to the cultivation room in the spacecraft to count his gains. As he sat down cross-legged in the cultivation room, a warm stream appeared in his body and started flowing around his body and mind. These were the attribute bubbles his clone had collected, which he left on the Olent planet. The cannon attack just now resulted in many attribute bubbles. Naturally, Wang Ting wouldn't let them go. He didn't pick them up personally, leaving this job to his clone. Wang Ting closed his eyes and carefully felt the changes and improvements in his body. He sat for a total of 3 days. His ability increased tremendously. Constellation Metal Force, 21,000 60,000, Celestial Stage 6th level. Constellation Wood Force, 18,000 50,000, Celestial Stage 5th level. Constellation Water Force, 168,000 50,000, Celestial Stage 5th level. Constellation Fire Force, 345,000 80,000, Celestial Stage 8th level. Constellation Earth Force, 7,850,000, Celestial Stage 5th level. Besides his Fire Force, his other 4 forces increased by a level, improving his overall ability. His Constellation Wind and Lightning Force rose too. Constellation Lightning Force, 8,580,000, Planetary Stage 8th level. Constellation Wind Force, 145,000 90,000, Planetary Stage 9th level. Although both the forces were still in the planetary realm, they were at the last few levels. He wasn't far from his next breakthrough. His spirit and enlightenment increased a little, but they were still far from advancing, so Wang Teng didn't care. Besides the gains in his attributes, his assets increased too. He got treasures, battle techniques, and you see after almost emptying the entire OFC. The higher authorities were able to give him 500 billion because they collated all the assets of their families from the various planets in the Olent Federation. If not, based on their current wealth, they wouldn't be able to give him so much money at such short notice. After Wang Teng took all these assets, the net wealth of the Olent Federation became close to zero. They might need a few hundred years to accumulate resources again. Both their military force and their economy suffered a heavy blow. In summary, Wang Teng took his revenge and gained ample benefits from this Olent Federation excursion. It was a worthy trip. Wang Ting stretched his back lazily in a good mood. He walked out of the cultivation room and circled the spacecraft. Everyone was cultivating, and there was no one to talk to him. He went back to his room. He had a sudden thought. He took out the water of Netherworld. "Are you planning to refine the water of Netherworld?" Round Ball's voice suddenly rang in his head. "Yes." Wang Teng nodded. "This is good stuff. I'm not as stupid as Sheng Luo. I won't let it rot in a corner." Well, he's not stupid. He just didn't have a way to tame it. He can't blame me then. He's unlucky. He collected so many good things, but they all belong to you now. Round Ball shook its head. Wang Teng smiled. This was the good thing about having many skills. No one knew when they could be put to use. Keeping quiet, he opened the wooden bucket containing the water of Netherworld. Huh! Wang Teng squinted. He suddenly noticed signs of corrosion on the inner walls of the bucket. The wooden bucket can't hold the water much longer, Roundball said. The water of Netherworld is indeed powerful. Shung Luo probably changes its container regularly. Normal containers won't be able to store this water of Netherworld. Indeed, it should be refined as soon as possible. Wang Ting shook his head. He stopped wasting time and placed his hands over the water of Netherworld. A ball of emerald flame appeared instantly. Bang! The wooden bucket shattered and the water of Netherworld floated out. It was wrapped by the emerald-glazed flame. The flame burned violently. Scorching heat invaded the water of Netherworld. As the master of the emerald-glazed flame, Wang Ting could sense the water of Netherworld through the flames. He felt a strange chill. It wasn't bone-piercing like the nether frost. Instead, it felt like an endless string of coldness. Wang Ting faltered. This chill was more frightening than the chill in the nether frost. It could seep into his body and even his soul without stopping, numbing him and corroding him without his realization. However, the water of Netherworld was suppressed by the intense heat of the emerald-glazed flame. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. Let's go. Wang Ting gritted his teeth, and a wisp of spirit came out of his forehead. It pounced right into the water of Netherworld. Gasp! Even with the emerald-glazed flame protecting him, Wang Ting still felt a chill invading his consciousness. It was slowly devouring his spirit. Boom! Wang Ting didn't hesitate. He immediately released the holy flame and the soul of Thousand Beasts flame simultaneously to suppress the water of Netherworld. The temperature in the cultivation room shot up. Without the protective shield, the metallic walls of the cultivation room would melt within a few seconds. With 3 divine flames acting, no matter how unruly this water of Netherworld was, it had to lower its head. Wang Teng's spirit seeped into the water of Netherworld continuously, attempting to leave his spiritual mark inside. The water of Netherworld corroded his spirit without stopping either. They were in a tug-of-war. Time flew. A day passed in the blink of an eye. Wang Ting's face turned a little pale. He seemed to have expended a lot of his energy. Suddenly, he opened his eyes. His gaze was sharp. He kept the 3 divine flames. The water of Netherworld started crackling. It started shrinking and turned into a small droplet of water. At the same time, its color grew darker. It was azure blue at the start, but now, it was almost black. Swoosh! The condensed droplet of water of Netherworld flew over and smashed into Wang Teng's forehead. Finally, a smile appeared on Wang Teng's face. He had 3 divine flames, so success was definite. However, the process required patience and precision. The risk involved shouldn't be underestimated. A single mistake and he would be seriously injured. Wang Ting heaved a sigh of relief now that he had succeeded. Wang Ting, quick! Look at your notifications. Roundball's agitated voice appeared in his mind. It had been waiting for him all this while. What's the matter? Wang Ting frowned. Cut the crap and look at it quickly. Roundball got impatient. It brought out the screen of the wristwatch, and a notification appeared in front of Wang Ting. The Great Qian Empire's League of Talent. Chapter 1123, League of Talents, Right to Enter the Uncharted. The Great Qian Empire's League of Talent. Wang Ting was stunned. His gaze turned brighter as he read the content of the message. He was left dumbfounded at the end. This involves all the talented martial warriors in the Great Qian Empire. You can participate as long as you're a celestial stage martial warrior. Oh my god. This is a huge event. Of course. Roundball appeared in front of Wang Ting. It seemed a little excited. The League of Talents encompasses the entire Great Qian Empire. Do you know what that means? There are multiple galaxies in the Great Qian Empire. Even if there are only 1 or 2 talents per galaxy, that's already a few hundred million. What a sight it will be to see so many talents displaying their power on the same stage. This is a great chance. You mustn't miss it. Wang Ting took in a sharp breath of air. Honestly, he was starting to get excited too. His gaze turned intense as he mumbled, interesting. With so many talents, he would be able to pick numerous attribute bubbles. He was worried that he wasn't advancing fast enough, and then the League of Talents appeared. This was a gathering of talents. All types of martial warriors would be present to showcase their skills. He would be able to improve all his forces. An all-round development was the key. Wang Teng didn't want to advance to the cosmos stage haphazardly. He wanted to take a special path. He had an idea when his enlightenment reached the cosmos stage. The brief outline was present, and the details were becoming clearer. He just needed to put it into action. "Hey, your gaze seems a little strange." Round Ball looked at him and commented uncontrollably. "Really?" Wang Teng coughed awkwardly. He changed the topic and said, "Don't care about these useless things. Quick, tell me about this competition." Round Ball's attention was brought back to the League of Talents quickly. The League of Talents is held every 3,000 years, with numerous celestial stage martial warriors participating in this competition. These talents normally roam around the universe to enhance their cultivation, so it's hard to find them normally. Mind you, there are many powerful races with great talents. They're born strong, and they have instructors guiding them. Some even have universe stage martial warriors or eternal stage martial warriors teaching them personally. In summary, be it talent, enlightenment, or hard work, they're among the top. How am I compared to them? Wang Teng asked. You're strong, but you're still some distance away from a real universe talent, Round Ball contemplated before replying. 1 inch as a celestial stage martial warrior, I can fight with a cosmos stage martial warrior and injure a heaven stage martial warrior seriously with one move. Can they do the same? Wang Teng asked curiously. He wasn't praising himself. He was just stating the truth and using it to judge the abilities of other universe talents. Yes, a real universe talent can do it. Round Ball nodded its head firmly. Do you know the different grades of talents in the universe? What grades? There are planet grade, galaxy grade, planetary grade, and universe grade, etc., Round Ball explained. Wang Teng went into deep thought. He could tell that the grades were based on different territories. A planet grade talent was the top talent of a planet. A galaxy grade talent was the top talent of the galaxy. A planetary grade talent was the top talent of the planetary sector, and a universe talent was the top talent of a high-tier civilization. This was a scary concept. The population of high-tier universe civilizations was huge. It was extremely difficult to emerge above everyone. Wang Teng didn't doubt this. A planet-grade talent can jump 1 or 2 small levels. A galaxy-grade talent can jump 4 to 5 small levels. A planetary-grade talent can jump a stage, so do you think a universe stage talent can injure a martial warrior more powerful than them? Round Ball questioned. They're just like you. You might not have the ability to fight equally with someone more powerful, but you have an ultimate move. There are many restrictions for these moves. One can't execute them recklessly. Even if they do it forcefully, it will be a great burden to their bodies. No one will use it unless absolutely needed. Those that become the disciples of the universe stage or eternal stage martial warriors are taught these moves to save themselves. These are secret moves created by the big shots. How weak can they be? This is great. Wang Teng's eyes lit up. What the hell? Round Ball was startled. It wanted to douse Wang Teng's arrogance so that he wouldn't look down on these universe talents. To it, Wang Teng was still a native who had just stepped out of Earth. He didn't understand how powerful a universe talent was. The ones he met were just ordinary martial warriors. But looking at him, he seemed quite excited. What was he thinking? Shouldn't I be happy to fight with all these talents? Wang Teng asked. Yes, you should. Round Ball nodded in a daze. Then, it asked carefully, don't you have any other thoughts after knowing that there are so many talents like you? What thoughts? Wang Teng looked at it strangely. Aren't you afraid of losing? Round Ball stared at him. What's so scary about losing? Haven't you heard that failure is the mother of success? Failing a few times is good for success, Wang Teng replied calmly. Silence. What do you mean by failure is the mother of success? Why don't you say that it's the father of success? Round Ball complained helplessly. It felt that it always lost to Wang Teng. Every time it wanted to stimulate him, it would receive a punch instead. Since any celestial stage martial warrior can participate, this means that old people can join in too, right? Wang Ting asked in surprise. In the universe, celestial stage martial warriors a few hundred years old aren't considered old. Also, some talents have their own considerations. Some want to build a strong foundation while others want to walk a different path. Either way, they have their own plans for not advancing to the cosmos stage. As for those that can't advance even after reaching old age, it's useless for them to go anyway. Their enlightenment is too low, they have no chance of winning, Roundball explained. I see. Wang Ting nodded. You're too young. If you cultivate for another 10 years, I dare to say that you will be one of the top 10 talents of the Great Qian Empire, Roundball said with pity. Another 10 years. Top 10. Wang Ting shook his head. He didn't know if he should laugh or cry. If that were true, his bug would be useless. The system would slap him to death and change the host. I'm not lying. You'll know once you start fighting with them, Roundball said. All right, I'll work hard to climb higher. Wang Ting didn't refute. He nodded seriously. Some things couldn't be explained. There was no point fighting over such a small matter. There are rewards for this competition too, Wang Ting exclaimed in surprise as he saw the end of the notification. What's strange about that? There will obviously be rewards since it's a competition. If not, who would participate? The top 1,000 can get 300 billion to a trillion UC, and there are weapons, battle armor, dance, and many more items to be won. How extravagant. Not only that, the top 10 will have the right to enter the Uncharted. Wang Ting was stunned. As he read the message, he realized something. What's Uncharted? Is it a small world? It's not a small world, but it's similar. Roundball shook its head. The Uncharted is a natural hyperspace in the universe. It's a special place and might possess numerous treasures. There might be unexpected gains too. Someone once received the origin of the universe from Uncharted and used it to advance to the cosmos stage. He became 10 or more times more powerful than an ordinary cosmos stage martial warrior. After that, he managed to reach the eternal stage smoothly. The origin of the universe. Wang Ting was stunned. He frowned and asked, isn't that the power a universe stage martial warrior grasps after reaching that stage? You're wrong. A universe stage martial warrior grasps the power of the rule of the origin. It's an enlightenment while the origin of the universe is an instantiation. It's different. Is it? Wang Ting was in deep thought. So, Uncharted is the most precious reward. It will be great if you can get it. Unfortunately, getting into the top 10 is too difficult. Roundball shook its head. How will you know without trying? Wang Ting smiled. A man can't say he can't do it when you can give it a shot. I look forward to your performance. Roundball sniggered. Wang Ting also smiled. He was already thinking about how to get more benefits out of the League of Talents. The League of Talents will commence in half a year. You should prepare for it. Roundball disappeared after it finished speaking. Half a year. It looks like I need to raise my ability. It'll be embarrassing if I lose terribly. Wang Ting felt a sense of urgency when he recalled how Roundball described the participating talents. Greater ability meant more attribute bubbles. He wouldn't be able to get the bubbles if he wasn't powerful enough. He would get trampled instead. When Wang Ting received the news, all the celestial stage martial warriors in the Great Qian Empire received it too. The entire empire was excited. The once-in-3,000-year League of Talents was back. This was definitely a grand occasion for the Great Qian Empire. Numerous talents would start gathering, and the splendor of the occasion would surpass anything heretofore seen. The rewards were attractive too. Besides the large pool of monetary rewards, there were all kinds of weapons and battle armor well liked by everyone, much less the right to enter Uncharted. Many people looked in the direction of a planet in the Great Qian Empire. That was where the League of Talents would be held, Battle Planet. This was a giant, dangerous, and terrifying planet. People from all over the universe received the message. Some were training on a primary planet, some were fighting with dark apparitions on the battlefield, some were within a small world, while some were traveling alone in the universe, measuring the universe with their feet. Chapter 1124, We're Not Suitable. I Don't Deserve You. After getting the notification about the League of Talents, Wang Teng started thinking of ways to raise his ability. First, he looked at his forces. His poison, ice, and light forces had not reached the planetary stage. He could start with them. After thinking for a moment, he asked Bertha to bring the light element martial warrior, Qing Lun, from the Olant Federation over. The 3 Heaven Lords from the Olant Federation were killed, but Cloet, Manka, Qing Lun, and the other Cosmos Stage martial warriors, as well as the planetary stage martial warriors like Argus and Loggins, were still alive. He instilled a biochip in them, so he wasn't worried that they would create trouble. He decided to keep them as manual labor. A huge number of the slaves he bought were dead. These martial warriors from the Olant Federation could fill up the empty slots. Soon, Bertha brought Qing Lun to the cultivation room and bowed. "Master, she's here." "All right, she can stay. You can leave first." Wang Teng nodded. Bertha left immediately. Before leaving, she sized up this beautiful woman who looked around 30 years old. Her gaze was ambiguous. Does Master have some strange fetish? Qing Lun was nervous. She didn't know why Wang Ting was looking for her. Unless, a bad feeling crawled into her heart. If that wasn't the case, why did Wang Teng look for her and not someone else? Also, he asked her to come alone. The more she thought about it, the more anxious she felt. No way, she was quite old, she didn't dare to think further. Wang Teng didn't know what the other party was thinking. He got up and walked over. "Do you know why I called you over?" he asked. "No, I don't." Qing Lun took a step back. There was nervousness on her face. As a Cosmos Stage martial warrior with a high position in the Olant Federation, she hadn't had such emotions for many years. Wang Ting. He felt that there was something strange about this woman. She was looking at him as if he was a pervert. "Don't act rashly. I've given birth before. We're not suitable. I don't deserve you." Qing Lun thought that he was unhappy, so she plucked up her courage to turn him down. Wang Ting. To hell with not being suitable. He finally understood what this woman was thinking and cursed in his mind. Her imagination was quite strong. How did she manage to think so far ahead? Wang Ting felt wronged. He was being serious, but the other party misunderstood him. Was this his image in other people's eyes? "Really, I'm a few thousand years old," Qing Lun continued hurriedly. She was afraid that Wang Ting wouldn't believe him. Wang Ting's face turned darker. In the end, he decided to play along and sniggered. "It's all right. I like ripe, old ones." He walked forward and grabbed Qing Lun's chin, looking at her with greed and evilness. Honestly, even though she was a few thousand years old, as a martial warrior, her appearance didn't change. Her beauty remained, and she showed no signs of aging. Someone who didn't care about age might do something to her. Qing Lun was shocked. Her face turned pale, but she couldn't resist. She closed her eyes in despair. "All right, you can pass me your light element scripture." Wang Teng released his grip and said calmly. "Huh?" Qing Lun opened her eyes and stared at him absent-mindedly. "Didn't you hear what I said?" Wang Teng asked. Yes. Qing Lun reacted upon seeing his firm gaze. She was thinking too much. She wished she could bury herself out of embarrassment. She knew that she couldn't resist. Although the light scripture was the foundation of her race, she was in Wang Ting's hands now, who had total control of her. Her only choice was to give it to him. She used a spirit skill to pass the light scripture to Wang Ting. Wang Ting scrolled through the scripture that appeared in his mind. He blinked and waved his hand in disdain. "All right, you can leave now. Don't think too much." "I'm not that thirsty." Qing Lun, her face was all scrunched up. Then, she felt a little angry. "Brat, what's with that contemptuous look?" She didn't want to have a May-December romance with Wang Teng, but she felt unhappy to be given the cold shoulder. Well, she was still a beauty. This was infuriating. "Wait, sit down first," Wang Teng suddenly said. "What do you want now?" Qing Lun took a step back again and asked. Was he lying earlier? Did he still want to cultivate? Wang Ting took a deep breath. He found it tiring to speak to this lady. Women were an obstacle in cultivation. Cultivate? Qing Lun was stunned. She didn't expect Wang Ting to ask her to cultivate here. Wait. He didn't trust her. Never mind, everything was fine as long as he didn't have other thoughts toward her. She kept quiet and sat cross-legged on the ground. She started to cultivate using the light scripture. Wang Ting silently observed her from the side. He didn't ask her to stop, so she continued cultivation as normal. She cultivated until, bang, a dull thud echoed in the quiet cultivation room. Qing Lun felt an excruciating pain in her head. Before she fainted, she heard a faint sentence. I wanted to hit you for a long time. Wang Ting let out a long sigh. He felt refreshed. He kept the lightning slap as if nothing had happened. Collect. Light Scripture * 500 Light Scripture * 300 Celestial Realm Spirit * 800 points. Well, it's alright, Wang Ting muttered as he looked at the attributes panel. Light Scripture, 301,000, well versed. Wang Ting didn't want to hit her. He did it for the attribute bubbles. Although she didn't drop many attributes, it allowed him to reach the well-versed stage, saving him precious time. He was being honest. Hitting women wasn't a good thing. He wasn't that kind of person. He knew how to protect the fairer sex. After some time, Qing Lun opened her eyes. She was lying on a bed. Where am I? What happened? Why did I faint? She asked 3 questions at once in her confusion. You're awake. A calm voice came from the side. Qing Lun turned her head and squinted. She remembered that she was knocked unconscious by this bastard. Well, she did misunderstand him, but how could he hit a weak lady like her? Narrow-minded. Qing Lun felt bitter. You can leave now, Wang Ting closed his eyes and said indifferently. Qing Lun took a deep breath. This was the tone. This tone was infuriating. This young man was destined to remain single. Why? Are you unwilling to leave? I don't mind talking about life and ambition with you. Wang Ting raised his eyebrows and opened his eyes as he teased her. Farewell. Qing Lun ran away. TSK, idiot. Wang Ting pouted in disdain. Your taste is strong. You even tease such an old lady, Roundball said softly. Wang Ting's face turned black. He replied angrily, go away. Caw. The door of the room was locked, and no one came to interrupt him again. Wang Ting sat cross-legged on the ground. The light scripture appeared in his mind, and he started cultivating. At the same time, he focused on his poison and ice forces too. He found the celestial stage scriptures for these 2 forces in the Saint Star Pagoda. He had to admit that as an academy, the Saint Star Pagoda had a wide range of scriptures for every element. It even had some for poison and ice forces. While practicing, Wang Ting entered the virtual universe to kill star beasts for attribute points. Time passed slowly. More than 10 days later, the flaming river finally entered the solar system and headed for Earth. Wang Ting ended his closed-door meditation. He had improved greatly over these few days. His light, poison, and ice forces had all reached the planetary stage. Constellation Light Force, 8,000 20,000, second level. Constellation Poison Force, 3,500 30,000, third level. Constellation Ice Force, 5,800 30,000, third level. His Constellation Light Force reached the 7th level of the planetary stage while his poison and ice forces reached the 3rd level. This was mainly because light element star beasts were hard to find, so he didn't get many attribute bubbles. That was why it was in last place. As such, all of Wang Teng's forces had advanced to the planetary stage. This was unbelievable. Other people would find it hard to achieve one breakthrough, but all his 11 forces were at the planetary stage and above. This was frightening. Besides building his forces, Wang Ting also spent time studying domains. With the help of his idea and a series of trials, he finally merged the divine flames and the water of Netherworld into their respective domains. With the help of the water of Netherworld, the power of his water force increased by at least 10 times. Once he used it, his enemies would be terribly irritated. He also instilled the divine flames into his fire force, making it hotter. There were also other transformations that allowed his fire domain to become more powerful. Mind you, it was hard to get rid of a divine flame or the water of Netherworld once you got stained. There would be life danger too. This was a nightmare for his enemies. At first, Wang Teng wanted to try merging the different domains too, but he found it a little difficult. Based on his current enlightenment and his understanding of domains, achieving this was still hard. He had to give up for now. However, he was already at the doorstep. All he needed to do was to push it open. Once that door was opened, it wouldn't just be the merger of two domains. It would be the simultaneous merger of all domains. Wang Teng got excited just thinking about it. Wang Ting, we're landing. Round Ball's voice appeared in Wang Teng's mind. All right, I'll come out, Wang Teng replied and strode out of the cultivation room. Chapter 1125, Engagement Banquet on Earth. The news about the ending of the Olent Federation spread on Earth while Wang Teng was on his return journey. There were even pictures as evidence. It was invigorating, especially to those people whose city was destroyed. They cried and laughed in joy, venting their anger and hatred. Then, another piece of news spread. What? Wang Teng became the owner of the Milky Way? How's that possible? That's the entire Milky Way. The territory is huge and there are many life planets in it like Earth. Even a Cosmos stage martial warrior might not have a galaxy. How did Wang Teng get it? This was unbelievable to Earthlings. As the heads of the nations came back, all the citizens in the different countries received the news. There was a huge uproar on the entire planet. At the same time, the countries made a decision. They must follow Wang Teng's footsteps closely and not fall behind. The heads of the nations widened their perspectives after visiting the Olent Federation with Wang Teng. They knew how tiny they were in front of powerful universe factions. They had to follow him closely if they wanted to find their spot in the universe. The different nations hated the fact that Wang Teng wasn't their citizen. That was why things were so troublesome. They wished they could do nothing and gain benefit. At this moment, their jealousy toward country Xia couldn't be described in words. Ha ha ha, Wang Teng managed to become the owner of the Milky Way. He's making us and country Xia proud. Great. Wang Teng is from country Xia. This is a good thing for us. Quick, prepare some gifts. I want to visit the Wang family. That's right. Let's head to the Wang family. We must maintain a good relationship with them. This is our chance to rise. The people in country Xia went crazy. Everyone felt proud. Some families that were close to the Wang family got excited. They prepared great gifts and went to visit them. They would be struck by lightning if they missed this great chance. Earth wasn't silent anymore. Many people felt a huge rise in their sense of security. That was right, a sense of security. In the past, when they were invaded by the Olent Federation, everyone realized how fragile and weak Earth was. Even after driving away the Olent Federation, they didn't feel safe. They felt that the other factions in the universe would invade them in the future. To the universe, Earth was honestly weak. Earthlings were like lambs waiting to be slaughtered. But they could finally feel at ease after knowing that Wang Teng had become the owner of the Milky Way. With the entire Milky Way as its shield, Earth was definitely many times safer. Those universe factions would have a harder time if they wanted to attack them again. Sigh, another one has left. Wang Shengwa heaved a sigh of relief when he walked in. He had welcomed many elders from different families over the past few days. All of them came to visit the Wang family, hoping to have a relationship with them whether they were close or not. The Wang family rejected everyone they could. They only welcomed those that they couldn't reject. Even so, it was a little tough. One Grandpa Wang, Wang Shengwa, and the others took turns welcoming the guests. It was like an unending stream. Dad, it must be tough for you. Wang Ting smiled as he walked out from the backyard. You threw the matter to us and went into hiding. We have to settle all these troublesome things, Wang Shengwa replied angrily. It wasn't good to have a son who was too outstanding. He was exhausted. I need to cultivate. Wang Teng found an excuse and chuckled. Wang Shengguo pointed at him in irritation. You can continue feeling proud. You seemed quite happy and delighted just now. Li Xiumei carried a cup of water over and rolled her eyes at Wang Shengguo, exposing him. As Wang Teng's father, he was definitely proud and happy that Wang Ting had the ability to let the entire world flatter him. He was just putting on an act. Wang Shengguo coughed awkwardly and said in embarrassment, "You should give me some face in front of our child." Ha ha ha. Wang Ting burst out laughing. Everyone had someone they feared. Wang Shengguo was always helpless in front of Li Xiumei. The outside world was noisy, but Wang Ting treasured the quiet time at home with his family, enjoying the happiness of a reunion. Wang Teng and Lin Chuan's engagement was put on the agenda too. The parents from both sides had mentioned this many times, and finally, they were putting it into action. Wang Teng and Lin Chuhan didn't reject the suggestion. Having walked so far, it was about time for an engagement to happen. Dragging it any longer would be inappropriate. The Wang family discussed it with the Lin family and decided to hold the banquet 3 days later. Grandpa Wang had found someone to find a good date. 3 days later was a good day. It was suitable for engagement. Invitations were sent out to the families that had a good relationship with the Wang family as well as some special figures. Actually, with Wang Teng's current status, he was already many times higher in status compared to the others on Earth. However, people like the leader of martial arts were his elders and their relationship was good, so he must invite them. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. At night, the Wang family decorated their home beautifully in red. Everything looked joyous and jubilant. Expensive cars were parked outside their residence. The guests alighted and walked toward the residence with gifts in their hands. The lobby was spacious and brightly lit. Servants shuttled back and forth, attending to the guests. The delicious food and wine were specialties Wang Ting brought back from the universe. The whole experience was extravagant. All the guests present were flabbergasted. This is majestic. The Zhu family was present too. Grandpa Zhu was in awe when he saw the decorations. Zhu Baiyun stood beside him, feeling frustrated. In the end, she lost. She lost to Lin Chuhan. Wang Ting didn't even consider her. Zhu Baiyun suddenly felt regret. Had she known how extraordinary Wang Teng was back then and made the first move, she wouldn't have lost so terribly. She believed that she would be able to mesmerize Wang Teng with her charm. After all, Wang Teng was just a normal person at that time and the Zhu family was more powerful than the Wang family. If she had lowered her head, she might have captured Wang Teng's heart. Unfortunately, everything was too late. One mistake and she lost the entire game. She had no chance anymore. Little Jun, you must control your emotions. You'll be the head of the Zhu family in the future, Grandpa Zhu reminded. Yes. Zhu Baiyun got a shock. She quickly hid the unwillingness in her eyes and followed her grandpa into the lobby. Chapter 1126. Finally, I can hold your hand, Wang family. In the lobby, more and more guests arrived. The place started to get lively. Wang Ting's childhood friends entered the lobby with their fathers. You can play with the young ones yourself, Father Shu smiled and said. All right, we won't hover around old people like you, Shu Jie teased. He had started practicing martial arts and wasn't as frivolous and useless as he was in the past. As a result, his status in his family improved. He didn't fear his father anymore and even teased him occasionally. Young brat, Father Shu scolded as he kicked him. Bai Wei and Yu Hao laughed at the side. The 3 youngsters went to look for their own circle of friends. Why do you seem a little absent-minded? Shu Jie noticed Bai Wei's abnormality and asked. Nothing. Bai Wei tied at her fringe and shook her head. Really? I can tell there's something wrong with you at a glance. Shu Jie rolled his eyes and observed his surroundings before whispering, Do you like Brother Wang Ting? No way. Bai Wei blushed and shook her head in a flurry. You can't hide anything. We knew about it a long time ago, Shu Jie said. That's right. Yu Hao nodded. He had some feelings for Bai Wei, but he bottled them after realizing that she fancied Wang Ting. He had a girlfriend now. Bai Wei also stopped denying it. She shook her head dejectedly. You're too hesitant. How will Brother Wang Teng know if you don't dare to say it? Xu Jie expressed disappointment. Bai Wei sighed. She knew that she had missed many opportunities. It's not too late. I heard that martial warriors in the universe have a long lifespan. They normally have many wives. You might have a chance. Xu Jie chuckled and winked at Bai Wei. Ah. Bai Wei was shocked, failing to react. It's up to you. Xu Jie sniggered. He didn't seem worried about making things more complicated. Hey, y'all are here. A voice was heard beside them. Bailey Qingfeng, Lu Shu, and some others walked over. They were Wang Teng's classmates at the Huanghai Military Academy. They were all youngsters, and with Wang Teng as the topic, they gradually got familiar with one another. Old Lu, when did you guys come? Xu Jie walked forward and asked with a smile. We just got here, Lu Shu replied. We're still single, but Wang Ting is already getting engaged. This is unexpected. Bailey Qingfeng shook his head. He silently left the singles club. So infuriating. Hu Pingliang bared his teeth. I'm getting engaged too, Song Shuhang suddenly said. Everyone, F***K, really? Hu Pingliang was the first to shout. He sounded as if he heard something incredible. We agreed to be single together, but you're leaving first, Bailey Qingfeng said bitterly. Work harder. Song Shuhang patted Hu Pingliang's shoulder to encourage him. Go away. Hu Pingliang slapped his hand and rolled his eyes in anger. I'm lucky that I have a sister. Lu Shu felt fortunate. What right do you have to speak, you sister fanatic? Everyone looked at him with disdain. Bai Wei and Xu Jie shook their heads and laughed when they saw them fooling around. What stage are you all at? Xu Jie asked curiously. We're around the same, 9-star soldier level. Bailey Qingfeng glanced at the others and said. 9-star soldier level? You're quite fast. I'm only at the 7-star level. Xu Jie exclaimed. What can I do? I'm gifted. Song Shuhang shrugged. F***K. Xu Jie cursed involuntarily when he saw Song Shuhang's irritating expression. Guests started arriving while they were chatting. Suddenly, shouts were heard in front. Look, the leader of martial arts is here. The 3 great commanders too. Principal Yi Jisin from the Jisin Martial House is here. Hey, those 2 are famous businessmen with the surname Ma, right? They came together. What a rare sight. All the important figures in country Shia were here. This caused a commotion among the crowd. Times had changed, but these characters were still influential figures on the planet. Ordinary families wouldn't be able to see them normally, but they appeared simultaneously at the Wang family's engagement banquet. The Wang family was indeed powerful. No, Wang Teng was the one who was powerful. After these important figures arrived, they gathered together and conversed with one another. The atmosphere was harmonious. The other families didn't dare to disturb them. They watched them from afar and paid attention to them. The arrival of these important figures made them the limelight of the banquet. It was hard not to observe them. Thank you for coming to the banquet today. It's the Wang family's honor to have you. Grandpa Wang came forward to welcome them. He was full of smiles. It was easy to tell how happy he was. Wang Teng's engagement party is a happy affair. We have to be present. The leader of martial arts laughed. Wang Teng is getting engaged in the blink of an eye. Commander Hong felt emotional. He had the strongest relationship with Wang Teng among the 3 great commanders. Thank you for taking care of him. Wang Teng wouldn't be who he is today without your help. Grandpa Wang thanked them sincerely. 1 inch don't say that. We didn't help him much. He achieved everything himself. Commander Hong waved his hand. They chatted for some time. Soon, the hour arrived. The lobby dimmed, and a beam of light lit up on the platform in front. A young man and a young lady walked out. They seemed perfect for each other. The young man wore a black suit and was exceptionally handsome. He stood tall and straight, giving off an outstanding aura. The lady wore a long red gown showing off her lean figure. She was pretty and charming. Tonight, She was the most beautiful here. The couple caught everyone's attention once they came out. No one could shift their gaze away. Thanks everyone for coming to our engagement. Wang Ting looked around and smiled. I'm actually a little nervous to have so many people as my witness. The crowd laughed out of courtesy. After the laughter subsided, Wang Ting opened his mouth again. I'm very happy today because the lady I love dearly is going to become my fiancée. He looked at the girl beside him with love and care. His voice had never been so gentle. A ring appeared in his hand. What ring was that? A crystal shimmering as bright as a star was etched on it. It gave off a dazzling glimmer. This was the longest-lasting crystal in the universe. It was multiple times more precious than a diamond. Everyone stared at the crystal, especially the ladies. They ogled the divine crystal in envy. Bai Wei and Zhu Baiyun wished that they were the ones wearing this ring. In a corner, one more person was staring at this scene absent-mindedly. Her expression was complicated. 2-inch finally, I can hold your hand. Wang Ting gradually slid the ring into Lin Chuan's finger. Lin Chuan started to tear up a little when she heard his whisper. She stared at the young man in a daze. No one else could enter her eyes anymore. Chapter 1127, one of the 6 main planets of the Olant Federation, Silver Ash Planet. Wang Teng's engagement banquet became a hot topic among elite families, especially the engagement ring that contained the eternal crystal. That eternal crystal was extremely beautiful. None of the crystals or gemstones on Earth could be compared to it. The ladies couldn't forget about the eternal crystal after seeing it. Many people started to search for avenues to find the crystals. Soon, a piece of news was released from the Wang family. It was said that the eternal crystal was worth as much as a life planet. No one looked for it anymore. An entire life planet. A crystal had the same price as a planet. This was outrageous. No one dared to think about it. Only the owner of the Milky Way, Wang Teng, would have this much wealth. After a round of astonishment and disappointment, the ladies started to envy Lin Chuan. She was the owner of the eternal crystal now. She must be the happiest lady in the world. 3 days later, the Wang family. Wang Teng bid farewell to his family. Dad, Mom, we're leaving. You have only been home for a few days. Why are you leaving already? Li Xiaomei wiped the tears at the edge of her red eyes. Mom, I don't have a choice. How can I protect you if I don't become stronger? Wang Teng hugged Li Xiaomei and tried his best to appear light-hearted. Sigh, just protect Chuan. She's leaving with you. Don't let her get injured. Li Xiaomei patted his hand and said angrily. Yes, don't worry. She's my wife. I won't let her be harmed. Wang Teng glanced at Lin Chuan and hurriedly promised his mom. Lin Chuan smiled, feeling warm. All right, leave quickly. Stop being an eyesore. Wang Shengwa waved his hand and chased him away. Dad, you're too heartless. I'm your son, Wang Teng said helplessly. I should give you a younger sibling soon. You're too wild. No one can find you at home, Wang Shengwa replied. What are you talking about at this age? How shameless. Li Xiaomei blushed. Ha ha ha. Wang Teng burst out laughing. The others laughed too. Grandpa, I'm leaving. Wang Teng waved his hand. Be careful. Protect yourself and Chuan, Grandpa Wang said worriedly. Okay. Wang Teng nodded. Brother, can you bring Dudu with you next time? A small figure asked sweetly as she ran over and hugged Wang Teng's legs. I'll bring you along next time. Wang Teng bent down and carried the little girl up. He tapped her nose. Stay at home and cultivate properly. Yes, Dudu will cultivate properly. Dudu nodded firmly. Wang Teng put her down and looked around. He felt a little guilty when he saw their reluctant expression. He said in a helpless tone, Don't be like this. I taught you guys how to use the virtual universe, right? We can meet each other there. If you want, we can meet once every day. Have a safe trip. Wang Shengwa waved his hand. Wang Teng didn't reply to him. He took a closer look at everyone before boarding the flaming river with Lin Chuan. The spacecraft floated up and disappeared into the horizon like a beam of light. Their destination was one of the 6 main planets of the Olant Federation, the Silver Ash Planet. This time, Wang Teng was heading to the Silver Ash Planet to carve a spaceshift array that would be linked directly to the Yulon Galaxy. The Yulon Galaxy was where the Great Chen Empire was. Creating a spaceshift array was the same as connecting these two galaxies. If the people on Earth wanted to head to the Great Chen Empire in the future, they could go to the Silver Ash Planet. There were numerous planets in the Milky Way, but he chose the Silver Ash Planet because it was closest to Earth. By spacecraft, the journey would only take 5 to 6 days. A universe-level spacecraft was faster. 3 days were enough. Silver Ash Planet. As one of the 6 main planets, the Silver Ash Planet was bustling. It couldn't be compared to the Olant Planet, but it was still a powerful planet under the Olant Federation. There were many martial warriors there. It was obvious that this planet was wealthy. Hence, the governor that was sent here was someone with a powerful background. However, the Olant Federation had collapsed, and all the elite families in the Federation had crumbled. No one knew if Sir Cloet, the governor of the Milky Way, was still alive. There was even news that the owner of the Milky Way had changed. It was startling. The governor of the Silver Ash Planet felt as if he was treading on ice. He was afraid that something unexpected would happen. 3 days ago, he received a message. The new owner of the Milky Way, the person who caused the collapse of the Olant Federation, would arrive soon. The governor became even more worried and anxious. Today was the day. He woke up bright and early and prepared to welcome the new owner with the higher authorities of the Silver Ash Planet. A spacecraft appeared within the vicinity of the Silver Ash Planet. There was a universe fleet behind him. More than 10 people sat in a meeting room. The atmosphere was tense. "Governor, we have been waiting for 3 hours. Is the Overlord coming?" A muscular human martial warrior frowned and asked. "That's right. We don't have to be so serious, right? Why do we have to come to outer space to wait for them? Where did this Overlord come from? He seems quite arrogant." Once someone took the lead, the others followed and complained one after another. These people came from wealthy backgrounds, so they were used to living comfortable life. They didn't have a good impression of this Overlord whom they had never met. The governor of the Silver Ash Planet glanced at them and snorted. If these people know that the new Overlord had destroyed the entire Olant Federation, would they still dare to say this? "Even if we have to wait for 3 or 30 days, we will do so," he said coldly. "Governor, where is the Overlord from? Why are you treating him with such respect?" a martial warrior asked. The governor hesitated for some time and finally decided to reveal some information in case these people created trouble. "The collapse of the Federation is his doing," he answered calmly. "What?" Everyone was dumbstruck. "No way. The new owner of the Milky Way is him? No wonder the Milky Way landed in his hands." Everyone was flabbergasted. Waves of astonishment crashed into their hearts. No one dared relax anymore. They turned serious and waited obediently. Since they were able to climb to this position, they weren't stupid. They knew that there were some people they couldn't offend. Another 2 hours passed as they waited. Finally, a spacecraft flew over from the universe and appeared in front of them. Chapter 1128. No permission is needed. My approval is enough. He's here. The governor trembled and shot to his feet. The other higher authorities from the Silver Ash Planet stood up nervously as if they were facing a powerful enemy. This was someone with a notorious reputation. No one knew what kind of person he was. What if he was a hot-tempered man who was hard to interact with? That spacecraft, is it Cosmos level? No, it's a heaven-level spacecraft, right? Someone exclaimed in astonishment. That's a heaven-level spacecraft. Scary. What background does our new Overlord have? How did he get this heaven-level spacecraft? His background must be frightening since he's able to destroy the Olant Federation single-handedly. To the people here, the most powerful spacecraft they could think of was the heaven-level spacecraft. As for a universe-level spacecraft, they didn't even dare to think about it. It was hard to tell from the spacecraft's appearance. One would only know its level after it displayed its strength. The image of the Olant planet getting damaged by the flaming river didn't spread. This was viewed as a humiliation, and the flaming river became taboo. No one dared to mention it. Hence, people outside the Olant planet didn't know about its existence. Incoming call. Do you want to answer the call? A robotic voice was heard in the spacecraft. Answer it, the governor gulped and replied hurriedly. Gitters, I'm here. Wang Teng's figure appeared on the screen. The people were surprised when they saw Wang Ting. He was too young. The overlord of the Milky Way was insanely young. My dear overlord, welcome to the Silver Ash planet. The governor of the planet got up and bowed with respect. Wang Ting nodded. Where should I park my spacecraft? You're the overlord of the Milky Way, so you do not need to stop at the docks. You can enter the Silver Ash planet directly. Lead the way. Wang Ting didn't say much. Yes. The governor of the Silver Ash planet was very respectful. He showed no signs of impatience and ordered his spacecraft to lead the way. 2 spacecraft, one big and one small, flew toward the Silver Ash planet one after another. The Silver Ash City. This was the main city of the Silver Ash planet. It was also the most prosperous place. At this moment, countless citizens in Silver Ash City looked up and saw 2 spacecraft landing at high speed. Soon, they were above the city. The majority of the people recognized the governor's spacecraft. But whose giant spacecraft was that behind it? No one knew. There was a commotion. The crowd started guessing the identity of this spacecraft's owner. It could enter the Silver Ash planet directly with the governor's spacecraft guiding it, so the person's identity wouldn't be simple. After the spacecraft parked, a group of people alighted and entered the governor's residence. These people are powerful. I think I saw a Cosmos stage martial warrior, not just one. There were a few formidable martial warriors as powerful as Cloet. These Cosmos stage martial warriors are all following that young man. Even the governor seems to be treating him with respect. Oh my God, the governor welcomed him personally. Just who is he? Something big is going to happen to our planet. After entering the governor's residence, the higher authorities of the Silver Ash planet were shocked. The Cosmos stage martial warriors behind Wang Ting made them apprehensive. The higher authorities felt fortunate. Phew. They were lucky they didn't offend this new overlord. If not, they might die without knowing. Sir Cloet, I didn't know that you were coming too. An official of the planet saw Cloet behind Wang Ting and greeted him respectfully. Don't call me sir. I'm a slave now, Cloet replied expressionlessly. What? Sir Cloet is a slave of the new overlord. Everyone was flabbergasted. They started to fear and respect Wang Ting more. They lowered their heads as low as they could. Soon, they arrived at a hall in the governor's residence. Have a seat. Wang Ting sat down without any qualms and said calmly as he glanced around him. Thank you, overlord. Then, they sat down. Wang Ting went directly to the point. I came here because I want to build a teleportation array on Silver Ash planet. Teleportation array. Everyone was stunned. They had thought of many possibilities and prepared for the worst, but none of them expected the new overlord to want to build a spaceshift array. May I know where you want this teleportation array to lead to? Governor Gitters asked carefully. This could be a good or bad thing. If it was linked to a dangerous place, the Silver Ash planet would be in danger. But if linked to a prosperous planet, it was a great piece of news for them. All kinds of trades and exchanges could promote the development of the Silver Ash planet. All the higher authorities present, including Governor Gitters, were closely linked to the Silver Ash planet. Thus, they were all ears when they heard this piece of news. It will be linked to one of the planets in the Great Qian Empire's Yulon Galaxy. Wang Ting opened his mouth and said, Great Qian Empire, Yulon Galaxy. Governor Gitters widened his eyes in disbelief. This teleportation array was going to be linked to the Great Qian Empire? Seriously? That was a high-tier civilization. The difference between them was like a chasm. What right did they have to link to this galaxy? They didn't dare to think about this. Overlord, are you serious? Gitters stuttered. Everyone looked over with doubt and a tinge of anticipation. I won't joke with you about this, Wang Teng replied calmly. Everyone breathed out, feeling overjoyed. They couldn't control their happiness, and it showed on their faces. They felt as if they were struck in the head by happiness. Overlord, I don't know what to say. Gitters was extremely excited. Yes, Overlord. This is unbelievable. How did you gain the approval of the Great Qian Empire? Why did they allow us to build this teleportation array? A woman with golden hair asked with anticipation shining in her eyes. No permission is needed. My approval is enough, Wang Ting said with a strange expression. Your approval is enough. Gitters was stunned. He didn't know what Wang Teng meant. The Yulon Galaxy is my territory too, Wang Teng replied. What? The higher authorities from the Silver Ash planet were dumbfounded. They stared at him in a daze. If there are no more questions, please make the necessary arrangements. Gather your rune masters to make the teleportation belt, Wang Ting got up and said. He wouldn't have spoken so much to these people if he didn't want to pacify and instill some fear in them so that the people on Earth could come here easily in the future. Yes, we'll arrange it immediately, Gitters regained his senses and replied hurriedly. This event was extremely important. This would affect the future development of the planet, so he didn't dare to treat it haphazardly. Orders were sent out from the governor's residence. Every rune master in the Silver Ash planet was called over. Within half a day, these rune masters appeared in front of Wang Teng. Overlord, they're the best rune masters on our planet. Are they enough? If not, I can go to other planets to ask for assistance, but that will take some time, Gitters said carefully. The rune masters looked at Wang Ting. They didn't expect him to be the overlord praised by Gitters. It's enough. Wang Teng glanced at them and nodded. Overlord, pardon me for being direct. We don't have any rune grandmasters here, so it might be difficult to create a teleportation array between the planets. A rune master stepped forward after some hesitation. Gitters's heart jumped. He didn't expect this to happen. He looked at Wang Ting anxiously. Don't worry. I'm a rune grandmaster. I'll host the construction of the spaceshift array, Wang Teng replied calmly. You're a rune grandmaster. The rune masters stared at Wang Ting in astonishment and disbelief. He was an overlord and a rune grandmaster. Who the hell was this guy? Wang Ting started constructing the array with the rune masters. The process went smoothly, and a large-sized teleportation array was finished after 2 days. Chapter 1129, The First Step of Earth into the Universe. A complete space teleportation array appeared in a hall in Silver Ash City. There were many halls here equipped with teleportation arrays that could teleport people to nearby planets. They were Silver Ash City's most important resources and were the basis for the mutual communication between the planets. But today, these teleportation arrays were just appendages. The most important array was the one that had just been finished. It enabled teleportation to the Great Qian Empire's Yulon Galaxy. Governor Gitters even sent an army to guard it in order to prevent any accidents. After the array was completed, Wang Teng planned to leave Silver Ash Planet and head to Yuming Planet, a planet in the Yulon Galaxy. Yuming Planet was prosperous, and there were a wide variety of races there. The overall atmosphere was relatively good. That was why Wang Teng chose it. That way, when people from Earth come to Yuming Planet, they would be able to blend in easily with the crowd. Humans from Earth had the same appearance as most human races in the universe. There was no need to worry about being discovered by others. Wang Ting's only concern was that they would be targeted by the Parker's family. He had to consider them as well. Sir, are you leaving? Stay for a few more days. We'll satisfy you as the hosts. Governor Gitters tried his best to keep Wang Teng here. Governor Gitters, do your job well. As long as you don't cross the line, I'll not change the planet's higher-ups. Wang Ting patted the governor's shoulder and said with a strange expression. He ignored his request and returned to the flaming river with Lan and the others. They then left Silver Ash Planet. Huff! The governor let out a long sigh, and a trace of joy flashed in his eyes. He was under so much pressure in front of Wang Teng. Now that he had no plans to abolish the management, it was a great blessing to him. However, when he thought about the words that the new overlord left for him, he didn't dare to neglect his duties. If he crossed his bottom line, it might not be as simple as being dismissed from his position. He might just lose his life. Did you hear what the overlord had just said? Gitters turned and looked at the other big shots of Silver Ash Planet. Don't worry, Governor. We won't fool around with our lives. Everyone expressed their opinions. That's good. This new overlord is not easy to deal with. Gitters nodded satisfactorily. Everyone agreed. In the Flaming River spacecraft, Lan stood beside Wang Ting and smiled. The management of Silver Ash Planet probably wouldn't dare to do anything funny. I can't be bothered about these things. Wang Ting shook his head and said to Bertha, who was standing quietly behind him, Bertha, I'll leave the affairs of these planets to you from now on. Ah! Bertha was stunned. She never thought that Wang Ting would hand over the managing authority of a galaxy to her so easily. She wasn't belittling herself, but she was just a slave after all. But she was overwhelmed upon getting such an important position. It seemed that Wang Ting wasn't lying when he said that he would set her free when he reached the heaven stage. Don't worry, I'll get Roundball to help you. Wang Ting smiled when he saw her like this. Yes, yes. Bertha felt pressure on her shoulders, but she could only agree with him. She knew that Roundball was an intelligent life form. With its help, it would be much easier. Yumming Planet. 10 days later, the QYE-63 spacecraft landed on the planet. After entering the Great Qian Empire's territory, he kept the Flaming River spacecraft. The Great Qian Empire was unlike the Olent Federation. Universe-stage martial warriors could appear anywhere within the empire. It would be troublesome if he was targeted. Wang Ting parked his spacecraft at the planet's docks and didn't disturb too many people. Only the higher authorities of Yumming Planet knew of his arrival. Yumming Planet, the governor's residence. Baron Wang Ting, you want to build a space teleportation array? Yumming Planet's governor, Zhuang Wei's, was surprised when he learned Wang Ting's purpose for coming here. This person was a human martial warrior and was from the strongest family on the Yumming Planet, the Zhuang family. He was a heaven-stage martial warrior. He might not be of status as high as Wang Ting, but his strength and background were not inferior to his. That was why Wang Ting was more polite to him. This was the difference between the Great Qian Empire and Olent Federation. In the Great Qian Empire, it wasn't rare for a heaven-stage martial warrior to be part of the higher authorities of a prosperous planet. But in the Olent Federation, a cosmos-stage martial warrior could be a guardian of a galaxy. That's right, the location has been selected. When the space teleportation array is activated, there will be martial warriors who will be teleported here. I'll have to trouble you to take care of them. Wang Ting nodded and smiled. Baron Wang Ting, you're too polite. If I may ask, who are these martial warriors? Zhuang Wei's shook his head and asked. They are martial warriors from my home planet. They want to enter the universe earlier, and I plan to fulfill their wishes. I see. Governor Zhuang, you have to keep it a secret for me. You should know the matters involving me and the Parkers, Wang Ting cautioned. Zhuang Wei's was flustered and smiled bitterly. Baron Wang Ting, you're really giving me a big problem. Ha ha ha. Wang Ting burst out laughing. The planet's governor would have to approve the construction of the space teleportation array in Yumming Planet. There was no point in hiding it from him. This way, Zhuang Wei's would help to hide the identities of the people from Earth. If this was exposed, he would be the first person to be suspected. Wang Ting would definitely find him. Although he was a heaven-stage martial warrior and wasn't particularly afraid of Wang Ting, it was still Wang Ting's territory. Some things had to be compromised. Moreover, his family was here. They couldn't leave just like that. Baron Wang Ting, everyone knows that you have come to Yumming Planet. We have prepared a feast for you. You must come tonight. Zhuang Wei's invited him. Sure enough, he wasn't angry with Wang Ting and was even full of smiles. He welcomed him here. All right, I will be there on time. Wang Ting didn't refuse. After reaching some agreements with the Zhuang family, they got along well as though they knew each other for decades. You people really like to beat around the bush. So troublesome. And Lan shook his head. There's no choice. The Zhuang family is Yumming Planet's overlord. If we don't build a good relationship with them, it would become troublesome to carry our plan. Wang Ting shook his head. There should be many planets in the Yulon galaxy. Why don't you choose other planets? The factions on the other planets are much more complicated, unlike Yumming Planet, which only has the Zhuang family. I just need to handle them. Fortunately, Governor Zhuang is sensible. Otherwise, it wouldn't be this easy. Wang Ting, I thank you on behalf of the people of Earth, the leader of martial arts said solemnly. He was part of the first batch of humans from Earth that entered the universe. The first step of the Earth into the universe, and it started with Yumming Planet. Chapter 1130, Individual Paths. At night, Wang Teng brought Lin Chuhan to the dinner party on Yumming Planet. The location was in the central area of the main city, a huge manor near the governor's residence. Ha ha ha, Baron Wang Ting, you are finally here. Governor Zhuang Wei's personally welcomed him. We're not late, are we? Wang Ting asked. You're just in time. Zhuang Wei's smiled and looked at Lin Chuhan. This is my fiancée, Lin Chuhan, Wang Ting introduced her. I see, it's Baron Wang Teng's fiancée. Greetings, Ms. Lin. Zhuang Wei's was very surprised and nodded at Lin Chuhan. Greetings. Lin Chuhan seemed a little nervous attending such an occasion, but she had experienced a lot of things after all. She maintained her elegance and grace. She was astonished and finally realized how respected and noble Wang Ting was in the Great Qian Empire. A planet's governor respected him, who was even a heaven-stage martial warrior. It was unbelievable. She couldn't imagine how Wang Ting went to the Great Qian Empire alone and finally became a baron. Wang Ting didn't mention how he got there, but she could guess the difficulties that he would have faced. A lot of ladies are probably going to be disappointed tonight. Zhuang Wei's winked at Wang Ting. Governor, are you trying to get me kicked out by saying this in front of my fiancé? Wang Ting glared at him. Ha ha ha. Zhuang Wei's laughed as if he was exacting his revenge. Wang Ting immediately understood that Zhuang Wei's was trying to get back at him for his plans just now. But this revenge was rather harmless. Wang Ting laughed as well. Lin Chuhan secretly pinched Wang Ting's waist and twisted her hand 360 degrees. Wang Ting's eyes widened as he took a deep breath. Zhuang Wei's pretended not to see it and said with a smile, Let's go, Baron Wang Ting, everyone is waiting for you. The three of them walked into the manor. The place looked like it was part of a palace. It was luxurious and spacious. What do you think? It's not bad, right? Zhuang Wei's asked. It's pretty good, much better than my mansion on Great Qian Planet. Wang Teng was surprised. Ha ha ha, as long as you like it. This is a gift that everyone has prepared for you. A gift for me. Wang Teng was stunned for a moment. He originally planned to buy a house in Yumming Planet after he had settled all the matters here. After all, this place would serve as his base camp in the Great Qian Empire. He didn't expect that Zhuang Wei's had already prepared one for him. And it was such a luxurious manor. Lin Chuhan also looked around in shock. It was huge, luxurious, and well located. They couldn't ask for anything more, and they gave it to Wang Teng. That's right, this is everyone's sincerity, Baron Wang Ting shouldn't refuse this. Wang Ting shook his head, as if he was about to refuse, but suddenly said, Then I shall accept it. Zhuang Wei's. The three of them then walked into the manor's hall. The guests inside greeted them one after another. Baron Wang Ting is here. Baron Wang Ting, I've heard many things about you. Wang Ting became the focus of the whole banquet. Even Lin Chuhan attracted countless gazes. The next day, Wang Ting began to set up the space teleportation array. He had previously locked in the space coordinates of Silver Ash Planet and he only needed to connect the space coordinates now before the teleportation would be ready. A day later, the array was completed. The space coordinates of the two planets had been connected. From now on, people from Earth could travel to the Great Qian Empire. Afterward, Wang Teng gathered the people from Earth together. This time, there was the leader of martial arts, Old Han, Dan Taixian, Lin Chuhan, and others, as well as some planetary stage martial warriors from various countries. Everyone, you will have to depend on yourselves now. Wang Teng looked around. You've done enough, the leader of martial arts stood up and said with gratitude. Yes, that's enough. Old Han smiled. What are your plans next? Wang Teng asked. We want to join the Mercenaries Alliance. The leader of martial arts and Old Han exchanged glances with each other. The planetary stage martial warriors from various countries had a similar idea. Although it was dangerous, becoming a mercenary was the best way to get stronger in the universe. I will keep the Cosmos stage martial warriors from the Olant Federation. If you encounter any problems that cannot be resolved, you can find them, Wang Teng said. Thank you. Then, I wish everyone the best of luck. May martial arts flourish, Wang Teng said solemnly. May martial arts flourish. The leader of martial arts and the others nodded. Wang Teng knew that if people from Earth wanted to enter the universe, they had to undergo all kinds of danger. He couldn't protect them like their nanny. They had to depend on themselves. That was why he didn't say anything else and let them work hard and fight for it. They started from nothing to what they were today, experiencing life and death. They were actually much stronger than he imagined. He believed that these outstanding people from Earth would thrive in the universe. After parting with the leader of martial arts and the others, Wang Teng and Lin Chuhan strolled around in the manor. He frowned. Chuhan, are you really not going to stay with me? No, I can't always follow you. Lin Chuhan brushed away her fringe and said with a hint of stubbornness in her eyes. Wang Teng sighed in his heart. He knew that Lin Chuhan had her own pride and didn't want to depend on him. He could only urge her. All right, you have to be careful. You must let me know if anything happens. Okay. When did you become an old mother? Lin Chuhan joked. No way, what mother? I'm just worried about you. Is it wrong? Lin Chuhan suddenly stopped and hugged him, murmuring, I know you're worried about me. But I also hope that the next time something happens, I can help you instead of being just a pretty vase. Wang Ting's heart shook, and he hugged her back tightly. A girl was willing to risk her life to improve herself in order to help him. That intention was enough to prove everything. All right, I'm going back to rest. Lin Chuhan smiled and separated from Wang Ting. Let's go together. Wang Ting shouted from behind. Silence. You brat, are you in such a hurry? A voice suddenly appeared behind Wang Ting. You scared me to death. Wang Ting patted his chest and saw Dan Taixian on the roof. Sister Xian, you're spoiling things for me. You can't blame me if you don't have the skills. Why did you climb so high? Are you gazing at the stars? Wang Ting rolled his eyes. Come and have a drink. Dan Taixian raised the wine bottle in her hand. Sigh, okay. I'll accompany and drink with this old woman. Wang Ting shook his head. He then jumped onto the roof and sat beside Dan Taixian. Dan Taixian, what do you mean by old woman? It's a blessing for you to be engaged to someone. The universe is so big. Wang Ting didn't look at her and gazed at the night sky. It's big, so big that it makes people feel scared. Dan Taixian threw a bottle of wine at him. Now that we've said goodbye, I'm afraid we won't be able to see each other for a while. Wang Ting took a sip. We're used to it. When we were on Earth, we used to go to Xingwu continent. Sometimes, we stayed for a year. Dan Taixian shook her head and said, but this time, we can't just go back to Earth. It's too far. This is a completely unfamiliar starry sky. She raised her hand and looked at the night sky through the gap between her fingers. Yeah, it's too far. Wang Ting raised his wine bottle. Come, have a drink. Bottoms up. Dan Taixian smiled slightly. Cheers. Take care of yourself, your life is the most important. Wang Ting cautioned. I know it already. Do you think I'm dumb? Dan Taixian said. That's not necessarily true. I still remember your fighting style. It's quite crazy. You look like you want to throw your life away. Wang Ting snickered. That's because I was fighting against weaklings. If it were someone stronger, I'd have run away long ago, Dan Taixian said slyly. I didn't know you were like this. Wang Teng was stunned. Ha ha ha. Chapter 1131. Kill. In the end, Wang Teng departed alone. He left An Lan on the Yumming planet because he was worried about Lin Chuhan and the others. They would be safer with a Heaven Stage martial warrior protecting them. However, An Lan would be hiding in the dark. He wouldn't appear unless absolutely necessary. This was Wang Teng's special arrangement. It was the only way Lin Chuhan and the others could grow up quickly. At the same time, Wang Ting left a clone beside Lin Chuhan. That way, he would be able to know immediately if she was in any danger. He even gave Lin Chuhan and Dan Taixian many items that could save their lives, such as dans, battle armor, weapons, etc. He felt more at ease after planning layers and layers of protection. At this moment, within the Flaming River spacecraft, Round Ball appeared in front of Wang Ting and started laughing. "Are you done?" Wang Ting asked angrily with a black face. "Wait, let me laugh for another 3 minutes." Ha ha ha. Round Ball clutched its tummy and rolled around in mid-air, laughing uncontrollably. "Is it very funny?" Wang Ting asked helplessly. "I didn't know that you had this side. You're like an old father sending his daughter away from home." Round Ball finally stopped and teased Wang Ting. "I'm doing this because the universe is very dangerous." Wang Ting snorted. "All right, I won't laugh at you anymore. You're right, the universe is very dangerous. It's better to be careful." Round Ball paused for a moment. "But I'm surprised that you left An Lan there. Having a powerful subordinate beside you all the time isn't a good thing." "I know." Wang Ting nodded. An Lan was powerful. Once he started fighting, Wang Teng wouldn't have to do anything. This wasn't good for his martial arts path. Although he could upgrade himself by picking up attributes, he had to rely on himself during a battle. It would be better if he had real combat experience. As a result, Wang Teng left An Lan behind. "I'm glad you know." Round Ball nodded. It realized that Wang Teng was more mature than it thought. Other people might love to have a formidable warrior beside them since it was safer. "How far away are we from the number 29 defense planet?" Wang Ting looked out into space. "We'll most likely arrive in 2 days." Round Ball looked at the star chart and smiled. "Luckily, we're in the Great Qian Empire. We can go to the nearest galaxy through the teleportation array on Yumming planet before heading to the number 29 defense planet. This shortened our trip. If not, we'd need half a month. The League of Talents will be held half a year later. Our time is tight." Wang Ting nodded. This time, he decided to head to the number 29 defense planet. There were 136 defense planets in the Great Qian Empire. They were all used to fight against dark apparitions. They were ranked based on their numbers. The greater the number, the more dangerous the planet. The number 29 defense planet they were heading to was many times more dangerous than the number 4 defense planet Wang Teng stayed in. Why did he choose to go there? One reason was that he wanted to raise his ability. After all, the battlefield had the most attribute bubbles. The second reason was that he wanted to gain some military exploits to raise his influence in the Great Qian Empire. This would help him in the future when he tackled the Parkers. Boom. Suddenly, the spacecraft trembled violently. A loud explosion was heard outside. "Alert! Alert! Defense shield has shattered. Defense shield has shattered." "What?" "The defense shield has shattered." Wang Teng was shocked. The defense shield wasn't damaged. It had shattered. What's going on? Wang Teng was shocked and furious. Enemy attack. Round Ball's expression changed slightly as it activated the panoramic simulation mode. Some distance ahead, a giant figure was standing on a meteorite floating in the darkness. He looked like a deity and had an ice-blue force glow shimmering around his body. A chill spread out from him, freezing the meteorite. "Universe Stage Martial Warrior," Wang Teng and Round Ball exclaimed at the same time. This was a terrifying Universe Stage Martial Warrior. Damn it. I didn't expect a Universe Stage Martial Warrior to attack us in the Great Qian Empire's territory. Round Ball frowned. There was panic in its eyes. Don't waste time. Run. Wang Ting interrupted it. Round Ball increased the speed of the spacecraft and hurried away in the opposite direction. A snort rang out like a thunderclap, echoing in space. Then, an ice-blue blade glow cut the darkness, heading straight for them. He didn't use any battle techniques. It was just a simple blade glow. However, the chill in the blade glow was astonishing. All matter was sealed in ice before it was disintegrated by the powerful force. Wang Ting, we don't have any time left. Abandon the ship, quick. Round Ball started shouting. It was in a panic. Wang Ting saw the blade glow and knew that the QYE-63 couldn't evade it. He had started moving before Round Ball's reminder. Let's go. The space in front of him distorted, and he merged with it, disappearing on the spot. Space Flash. This was an innate skill of the Shadow Assassin clan. Wang Ting got it from Hardy. Hardy felt frustrated. He got tormented without knowing what Wang Ting wanted. Just as its name suggested, the skill allowed one to hide in space to evade an attack. It was different from the space shift Wang Ting used in the past. Space Flash was more direct and faster. A short teleportation could be achieved in the blink of an eye. Boom. Almost at the same moment Wang Ting used his Space Flash, the blade glow landed on the QYE-63 spacecraft. The spacecraft froze. Then, it shattered into pieces. This was how powerful a universe-stage martial warrior's attack was. Wang Ting appeared 1,000 meters away with a black face. Round Ball was cursing furiously too. The QYE-63 spacecraft had been left behind by Nangong Yu. Yet, it was destroyed in a single blade attack. The poor thing had suffered a lot ever since it followed Wang Ting. It got damaged again and again, and now, there was nothing left, not even a shard of it. It couldn't be repaired anymore. Wang Ting didn't stop for long. He took out the Flaming River spacecraft and asked Round Ball to activate it. Then, they escaped into the distance. The time it took was extremely short. Wang Ting had already asked Round Ball to activate the spacecraft before he took it out, so it could move the moment it came out. This was the advantage of having an intelligent life form. He couldn't do it without Round Ball's help. Boom. The Flaming River turned into a beam of light and disappeared with a loud bang. The universe-stage martial warrior was surprised. He looked in the direction of the spacecraft. Then, he disappeared too. Chapter 1132, Restricted Land, Sinister Grey Miss. Wang Ting and Round Ball had solemn expressions as they stood in the Flaming River spacecraft. They had activated the panoramic simulation mode. An ice-blue force glow as bright as the sun was plummeting toward them at a high speed. The frightening pressure destroyed all the meteorites around him. The Flaming River escaped frantically at the fastest speed possible. Damn it, why is there a universe-stage martial warrior hunting us down? Round Ball shouted in anger. Even the leader of martial arts and Chuhan don't know that I'm heading to the number 29 defense planet. The only possibility is that someone got this piece of news from the higher authorities in the Great Qian Empire. They waited here to ambush us, Wang Ting said grimly. Wang Ting had to gain permission from the Great Qian Empire before going to the number 29 defense planet. Thus, he informed the official departments before his trip. That was the only place the problem could happen. It must be the Parkers. Round Ball bellowed. They're like mad dogs chasing after me. Wang Ting took a deep breath and forced himself to calm down. Getting angry at this time wouldn't do him any good. He should focus on escaping from the universe-stage martial warrior. What should we do now? We can't escape, and our path to the number 29 defense planet is also blocked, Round Ball said helplessly. We can only take one step at a time. Wang Ting blinked. Are there any life planets nearby? We can go there. The universe-stage martial warrior won't dare to attack when there are many people around. No, we're near the number 29 defense planet, so there are no life planets around. Even if there is one, it would be barren. The universe-stage martial warrior has nothing to be fearful of and no one will stop him. Round Ball shook its head. Are there any dangerous places that universe stage martial warriors are afraid of? Wang Teng's mind worked furiously. Let me check. Round Ball understood Wang Teng's plan. Its eyes lit up as it replied to him in a hurry. It immediately took out the star chart and checked the situation of the planetary sectors around it. Planets flashed one after another. The images were impossible to capture using one's eyes. Only an intelligent life form like Round Ball could check through them so quickly. Wang Teng, I found it. 600 light-years away, there's an area regarded as restricted ground. Even universe stage martial warriors have to be careful there, Round Ball said. Do you know why? Wang Teng frowned. I'm not sure. Round Ball investigated but found no relevant information. It only knew that this was a restricted ground. Any other place? No, they're all far away. Right after Round Ball finished speaking, the spacecraft trembled. The alarm started blaring. Alert! Alert! Defense shield is 20% damage. The two of them were appalled. It was obvious that the universe stage martial warrior behind them had started attacking. Never mind, let's head to that restricted area, Wang Teng said with an ugly expression. He didn't dare to hesitate anymore. No matter what, they need to break free from this universe stage martial warrior first. A universe-level spacecraft could resist the attack from a universe stage martial warrior but not for long. Once the other party destroyed their defense shield, they would have no chance of escaping. It was like catching turtles in a jar. Okay. Round Ball knew that this was an emergency. They had no choice. This was their only way out. It hurriedly controlled the Flaming River spacecraft and headed in another direction. Huh! The universe stage martial warrior chasing them exclaimed again. Without stopping, he slashed out with his blade. The attack cut through space and landed on the Flaming River. Unfortunately, this was a universe-level spacecraft. He couldn't destroy it easily. He had to continue chasing and damaging its defense shield. Alert! Alert! Defense shield is 35% damage. Alert! Alert! Defense shield is 40% damage. Alert! Alert! Defense shield is 50% damage. Alarms rang through the spacecraft continuously. It was head-splitting. Wang Teng and Round Ball were agitated. Their expressions couldn't be gloomier. Quick, quick, quick. They prayed in their hearts, wishing that they could reach the restricted area in the next second. They did put up some resistance. The Flaming River Universe Lord kept firing force attacks in an attempt to delay the universe stage martial warrior. However, the other party arrived too quickly. It was impossible to cause any damage to him. They could only drag his speed down a little. Alert! Alert! Defense shield is 80% damage. Alert! Alert! Defense shield is 95% damage. The defense shield was on the verge of collapsing. Quick! Round Ball shouted before smiling. We're here. Wang Teng, do you see that grey misty area ahead? We're here. Wang Teng was invigorated. He hurriedly looked in front. An eerie patch of grey mist floated silently in the emptiness ahead. It was spread out, so no one could see behind it. There was only the faint outline of a meteorite barely visible. Here. The universe stage martial warrior was shocked when he saw the grey mist. He finally realized Wang Teng's destination. Wang Teng stared at the grey mist. Honestly, he was afraid because the path in front was unknown. Also, the grey mist was thick and sinister. He didn't know what dangers there were behind it. But at this crucial moment, he didn't have a choice. He had to take the risk. Finding an escape in death. Quick, let's go in, Wang Teng ordered. Stay back. A cold bellow came from behind them. The Flaming River seemed to be blocked by an invisible wall. Its speed decreased tremendously as if they were numerous strings dragging it down. The grey mist was only an inch away, but it seemed as far as the horizon. They couldn't get any closer. The universe stage martial warrior has linked the small world in his body to the real world and formed a wall in front of us, Round Ball said seriously. You're really putting in a lot of effort to catch me. Wang Teng furrowed his brows. Many thoughts went through his mind. The next instant, an idea popped up in his mind, and he said in a low voice, "Round ball, open the cabin door. You can't go out. A universe stage martial warrior isn't like a heaven stage martial warrior. You'll die if you step out," Round ball said hurriedly. "Don't worry, I'm not going out. I just want to see if I can break the restrictions of the small world." Looking at Wang Teng's expression, Round ball knew that he was confident. It opened the cabin without another word. Wang Teng appeared at the cabin door, holding a universe-level sword in his hand. The power of origin surged in his body as he slashed his sword out. Origin of flame. Origin of metal. Origin of wind. 3 origins were merged into the Godslayer sword scripture. They were hurled out with the beam of sword glow. Boom. A violent explosion occurred. Then, the power of the small world started cracking, and the flaming river was free again. It shot out and dashed into the grey mist. How's that possible? The universe stage martial warrior was in disbelief. He stared at the spacecraft with a sharp gaze. Anyone would be frightened if they saw him. However, he could only watch the spacecraft as it entered the grey mist, unable to stop it. "H, do you think you're safe just because you escaped inside?" The universe stage martial warrior snorted. Then, he entered the grey mist too. Everything was grey in this area. The visibility range was only a few hundred meters. Fortunately, the flaming river is a universe-level spacecraft. Otherwise, the meteorites floating around would have been enough to smash it down. "Fly inside," Wang Teng said. "Are you afraid that the universe stage martial warrior will continue chasing us?" Round ball asked. "I'm not worried. It's definite." Round ball gritted its teeth and controlled the spacecraft to fly deeper in. The meteorites crashed into the defense shield before shattering into pieces. No damage was done to the spacecraft. "Wang Teng, the grey mist seems to be corrosive," Round ball said suddenly. "Corrosive?" Wang Teng was stunned. "Yes, corrosive. This seems to be a poisonous mist." Round ball stared at the data in front of it. "Poison mist? Can our spacecraft withstand it?" Wang Teng asked with a frown. "There's no problem for now. However, I can't promise anything once we get closer to the core. Wait and see. If we can't handle it, we'll retreat." While speaking, Wang Teng was surprised. He saw attribute bubbles in front. Chapter 1133, Savage Giant Beast, Toxic Mirage. Constellation Force, Poison, *100 Constellation Force, Poison, *150 Constellation Force, Poison, *120. Wang Teng stood in front of the Flaming River's control station and released his spiritual power silently. He started collecting the attribute bubbles. When he saw the constellation Poison Force, his eyes lit up. There were poison attribute bubbles here. Wang Teng didn't know if he was lucky or unlucky. He got chased by a universe stage martial warrior and had to escape to a forbidden zone. Yet, he managed to get benefits. Suddenly, his expression changed. "Round ball, continue heading in. The universe stage martial warrior is here." Round ball's artificial heart skipped a beat. It didn't dare to waste any time and controlled the spacecraft to head deeper. Not long after they left, a huge figure appeared on the spot where the flaming river was. It was the universe stage martial warrior. There were layers of ice surrounding his body like battle armor, helping him withstand the corrosion from the grey mist. A beam of holy light shot out of his eyes as he scanned his surroundings. He muttered to himself, "They seem to be here." The lofty figure hesitated for a moment before he stepped forward again. The flaming river traveled in the grey mist for half an hour. The mist was starting to get thicker. Constellation Force, Poison, *500 Constellation Force, Poison, *420 Constellation Force, Poison, *600. Wang Teng realized that there were more bubbles here with higher values. They were larger than the ones in the outskirts. "Round ball, circle the area," Wang Teng said with a frown after he picked up all the attribute bubbles. They were already deep inside the mist. It was so thick here that he couldn't survey the environment with his spiritual power either. Wang Teng didn't dare to go further. Round ball nodded grimly. Under its control, The flaming river lowered its speed and started circling in the grey mist. Wang Teng released his spiritual power, observing the universe stage martial warrior to see if he had caught up while picking up attributes. Within half an hour, his poison force rose exponentially, going from the 3rd level of the planetary stage to the 5th. Wang Teng was elated. This was a surprise gain. Then, he turned serious. This place was strange and eerie. The visibility was practically nil. It was corrosive too. If they weren't piloting a universe-level spacecraft, they might have been stranded here. We need to leave after 3 hours or the spacecraft will be corroded by the grey mist, Round Ball hesitated before saying. 3 hours. The universe stage martial warrior might not leave so easily. Wang Ting shook his head with a frown. Can we go out from the other side of the mist? He thought of something and asked again. Let me see. Round Ball started searching for information about the grey mist again. After some time, it shook its head. How is it? Wang Ting's heart sank, but he still had to ask. The situation doesn't look good. The black mist is constantly spreading, changing, and moving. No one knows how big it is. What's more, you can't tell the directions in the mist, so you won't know where to exit from. No one has ever entered this restricted zone and left safely. Wang Ting took a deep breath. Even if someone did, he must be a powerful martial warrior. No one would share this kind of news, Round Ball said helplessly. Wang Ting felt like cursing. Oh right, you can put up a mission in the virtual universe and see if anyone knows about it. Round Ball thought of an idea, its eyes lighting up. All right, let's do that, Wang Ting said. Suddenly, he paused, and his eyes shimmered. Wait, I'll use the Secondary Career Alliance to send the mission. If the person is able to provide relevant information, I can make Grandmaster-level dance or weapons for him. He didn't mind putting in a heavy reward for this mission. Either way, his life was the most important. All right. Round Ball didn't say much. It immediately sent out a mission using the Secondary Career Alliance's name. Boom. At this moment, a loud explosion was heard, and the spacecraft suddenly trembled. Has he caught up with us? Round Ball's expression changed. I don't think so. It looks like a star beast. Wang Ting squinted. I saw a giant black shadow just now. He activated his spiritual sight and eyes of essence and looked into the grey mist. Oh my god. Grey balls of light had appeared around the flaming river silently. F***K. Wang Ting got a fright and cursed involuntarily. Let's leave, he shouted at Round Ball. There was no time for an explanation. Round Ball was in a daze. Anything could happen in this eerie grey mist. Looking at Wang Ting's expression, this wasn't a small matter. Head where? It had no choice but to control the spacecraft and ask Wang Ting loudly. There. Wang Ting pointed to the left. There were fewer balls of light there. Shoot a cannon there first. Okay. Round Ball had a good trait. It would follow Wang Ting's order without a question. The force cannon shifted to the left and fired a shot. Boom. Along with a loud explosion, the frightening force pushed the grey mist away and cleared a path. Finally, Wang Ting and Round Ball could see what was ahead of them. There were numerous black and savage-looking giant beasts. Their bodies were covered with thorns and hooks, and they had 2 gills on their cheeks like a fish. As they breathed, a grey mist came out from their gills. But they only managed to get one look before the force cannon landed on these hideous creatures and smashed them into minced meat. Back-green blood splattered everywhere. Screech, screech, screech. Ear-piercing cries shot out from the grey mist around them. These cries sounded furious. Round Ball didn't need Wang Ting to speak again. It piloted the spacecraft and charged toward the path that it had cleared. Grey mist surged toward them like towering waves. The ferocious giant beasts chased after the flaming river. As they escaped, Wang Ting scanned the back and saw some attribute bubbles dropped by the hideous star beasts when they died. He collected them. Constellation Force, Poison, *1500 Constellation Force, Poison, *1800 Toxic Mirage *100. 3 attribute bubbles entered Wang Ting's body. He was stunned. Two of them were constellation poison force, but the last one was a special technique. Toxic mirage. Toxic mirage was a kind of gas. In fact, it was the grey mist around the spacecraft. It was extremely poisonous. The thicker it was, the greater its toxic level. Chapter 1134, Decaying Planet. After absorbing this attribute bubble, the execution method of this toxic mirage appeared in Wang Teng's mind. These hideous giant beasts released toxic mirage through their gills. They would gather the poison force in their bodies and transform them using a special method before releasing it. If Wang Ting executed it the same way, it would be quite a strange scene. Fortunately, he only received the execution method of toxic mirage. He could gather toxic mirage in his body by following the method and transforming his poison force. Speaking of the toxic mirage, Wang Teng remembered the lazy mist. Both were gaseous battle techniques. One was of the poison element while the other was of the dark element. But they were similar. The effects would be amazing if he could merge them. If he could form a domain with them, that would be even better. Ideas kept appearing in Wang Teng's mind as the edge of his lips lifted up uncontrollably. The number of his strange skills had increased again. Wang Teng, how can you smile at this time? Round Ball felt speechless. Wang Ting coughed awkwardly as he regained his composure. The situation wasn't right. There were a bunch of savage giant beasts chasing him. However, he felt more confident since he knew the attacking skill of these ferocious giant beasts now. Don't worry. Watch me. Can you stop boasting? Round Ball didn't know what to say. Silence. Wang Teng didn't waste a second. He asked Round Ball to open the cabin door and flew out. He decided to slaughter these hideous giant beasts. When there were attribute bubbles to gain, he should get them. These hideous giant beasts were good stuff. All of them were tools that could give him poison attributes. The instant he appeared in the mist, a layer of poison force shot off his body and covered him entirely. The poison force released by the Demon Lotus poison body was more potent than the normal poison force. Hence, the grey mist wasn't a huge threat to him. Wang Ting heaved a sigh of relief when he noticed this. Screech, screech, screech. The hideous giant beast noticed him and screeched in anger. They started charging at him. Wang Ting snorted. A longbow appeared in his hand. This was one of the weapons left by the Flaming River Universe Lord. It was at the universe level too. The forces in his body churned and formed a long arrow on the bow. The bow was stretched to its maximum while light arrows appeared on the bow. There were 12 of them. Aurora Holy Arrow. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The 12 arrows shot out instantly, soaring towards the first 12 giant beasts in front. The light arrows were made using light force, so they could restrain the poison element star beasts. Boom, boom, boom. These hideous giant beasts couldn't dodge in time and got hit by the arrows. They penetrated right through their heads, killing them on the spot. Attribute bubbles dropped from the corpses of these giant beasts. Wang Teng smiled. He collected the attribute bubbles while firing more arrows, shooting the savage giant beasts charging at him. These giant beasts were mostly at the Emperor level or the low-tier Imperial level. They didn't have the ability to stop him. Sometime later, all the ferocious giant beasts nearby were killed. This was a staggering scene. Not a single star beast was able to get within 1,000 meters of Wang Teng. They were shot to death the moment they crossed this invisible boundary. Round Ball's jaws dropped upon seeing this scene from the spacecraft. The giant beasts further away seemed frightened too. They didn't dare to get closer and even started retreating. Wang Teng didn't chase after them. He returned to the flaming river and hurried away. He had caused quite a huge commotion, so the universe stage martial warrior would definitely be attracted. They needed to leave quickly. The process of killing the giant beasts seemed long, but it happened within 1 minute. After they left, the lofty figure of the universe stage martial warrior stepped out from the grey mist. He glanced at the corpses around him and frowned. The anger on his face was apparent. He escaped again. A small martial warrior who wasn't even at the cosmos stage had slipped away from his hands again and again. The exasperation made him uncomfortable. However, this mist was too strange. He couldn't even execute 0.1% of his power here. On the other hand, Wang Teng seemed like a fish in water. The difference resulted in the current situation and made him helpless. I don't believe that I can't catch you. The universe stage martial warrior had a cold expression on his face and killing intent in his eyes. He added another layer of frost around him before he continued heading into the mist. If the Parkers hadn't promised him so many great benefits, he wouldn't be chasing a celestial stage martial warrior. Since he had acted, he mustn't return empty-handed. If not, others would laugh at him. A universe stage martial warrior couldn't catch a celestial stage martial warrior. What a joke. Time flew. Another 2 hours had passed. Wang Teng and the universe stage martial warrior seemed to be playing hide-and-seek. They ran around aimlessly. Along the way, the flaming river met another group of giant beasts. There were mid-tier imperial-level wild beasts among them. This was the same as Cosmos stage martial warriors. The duo had to spend a lot of time and effort to escape from these giant beasts. Wang Ting received another round of attribute bubbles too. As such, his Constellation Poison Force had reached the 7th level. Constellation Poison Force, 4870,000, Planetary Stage 7th level, Toxic Mirage, 10,000, perfected. The Toxic Mirage skill reached the perfected stage 2. His harvest was great. If the universe stage martial warrior knew that Wang Teng earned a huge round of gains while escaping from him, he might vomit blood in anger. Wang Teng, we don't have much time left, Roundball said grimly as it stared at the data of the spacecraft. We have less than 40 minutes, and we can't find the original path anymore, Roundball added. No way. Didn't I ask you to record our path? Wang Teng glared at it. It's impossible to record it in this situation, Roundball replied with a bitter smile. Wang Teng sighed. He didn't expect this restricted zone to be so strange. They were in a dire situation. We can go out if we have enough time to let the shield complete its automatic restoration, Roundball said. Is it? Wang Teng was in deep thought. Many thoughts went through his mind. Boom. At that moment, the spacecraft knocked into something and caused a violent tremor. Wang Teng and Roundball regained their senses. They looked out and saw a large patch of asteroids around them. The flaming river was surrounded by them. Asteroid belt. Roundball's expression changed. This is an asteroid belt. Can we go past it? Wang Teng asked. We can, but it'll be troublesome. If we don't want to use the force cannons, we can only use the spacecraft to force our way through, Roundball said. Let's not use the force cannon first, Wang Teng thought for a moment and replied. The force cannon would create a huge commotion and attract the universe stage martial warrior. He didn't want to meet the opponent again after ditching him. Escaping was harder now that they were in an asteroid belt. All right. Roundball nodded. He used the stupidest method and inched the spacecraft forward gradually. Half an hour later, the asteroids disappeared. They had finally left the belt. The two of them heaved a sigh of relief. To the universe-level spacecraft, it wasn't very dangerous, but it was troublesome. Getting out of the asteroid belt almost wore off all their patience. Just when they were preparing to leave this place, they got shocked. There was dead silence in the spacecraft. The two of them widened their eyes in surprise as they stared at the planet that had suddenly appeared in front of them. They glanced at each other. That was right. It was a planet. After passing through the heavy mist, they saw a planet amid the grey mist. It was an extremely special planet. It was grey in color and seemed lifeless. It was shriveled up and barren. The mountain ranges intertwined on the surface of the planet looked like scars. Wang Teng activated his spiritual sight and realized that this was a life planet. However, its vitality was diminishing. There was a glaring purple-black glow on this planet, entrenched on it like a small sun. What? Wang Teng gasped in astonishment. He was startled. Chapter 1135, Strange Magnetic Field. The decaying planet was too astonishing. Even Wang Ting was flabbergasted as revealed on his face. Round Ball rarely saw him like this. Its heart sank, and it asked involuntarily, "What is it?" "It's extremely terrifying." Wang Ting gulped. Dumbstruck, he said in a low voice, "This planet is scary. Extremely terrifying." Round Ball thought through these two words. It was in disbelief. What could be considered extremely terrifying? In its memory, even in front of a universe stage martial warrior, Wang Ting had never revealed such an expression. But now, before he reached the planet, he had already lost his calm. "Did you see something?" Round Ball asked. It didn't ask Wang Ting how. It knew that he had his ways to see through the situation on the planet. "That's right. Let's leave through the asteroid belt," Round Ball said in a low voice. Wang Ting didn't speak as he was in deep thought. He was curious about the presence on this decaying planet. In his spiritual sight, he saw the vitality of the planet shrinking, but the vitality of that presence got more and more powerful. It was obvious that this presence was sucking away the planet. What on earth was that? Wang Ting had never seen this situation before. He found it mysterious and interesting, hence his curiosity. However, he knew that curiosity killed the cat. He didn't want to be the stupid cat. "Let's leave." Wang Ting took a deep breath. Round Ball nodded. It was about to drive the spacecraft away. "Alert! Alert! The spacecraft is heavily damaged. Please repair it immediately." A deafening alert rang in the spacecraft. Round Ball and Wang Ting's expressions changed slightly. They forgot that the flaming river had already reached its limit after forcing its way in brutally. In addition, the grey mist was corrosive. If they continued traveling, it might break down in the grey mist. Their expressions turned gloomy. Boom, boom, boom. At this moment, an explosion came from behind them. Someone seemed to be destroying the asteroids. The noise got closer and closer. It was heading for them. Damn it. They knew that the universe stage martial warrior had caught up with them. Besides them, the universe stage martial warrior was the only person in the grey mist. It couldn't be anyone else. "He's like a ghost haunting us." Wang Ting snorted. "What should we do?" Round Ball asked agitatedly. "There's danger ahead and behind us." "Let's take a gamble," Wang Ting said with a flickering gaze. "All right." Round Ball gritted its teeth and nodded firmly. Boom. The spacecraft started rushing toward the planet at an astonishing speed. The grey mist automatically dispersed when they got close to the planet. There seemed to be a vacuum. The flaming river passed through the grey mist and charged at the decaying planet furiously. However, when they got close to the atmospheric layer, a powerful resistance appeared in their way. It was like an invisible large hand dragging the spacecraft back, lowering the speed of the spacecraft tremendously. "What's happening?" Wang Ting's expression changed. "The magnetic field on this planet is strange. The resistance is very strong. It's at least 1,000 times that of a normal planet," Round Ball exclaimed in bewilderment. Wang Ting's brows scrunched up. He didn't expect this accident to happen at the last moment. The universe was vast. All kinds of planets could exist. The strange magnetic field around this planet was quite normal. "I finally found you," a cold voice sounded, passing through the walls of the flaming river and straight into their ears. It was like a ghost was whispering in their ears. Wang Ting and Round Ball squinted. They looked behind the flaming river. The tall and lofty figure was coming for them at a high speed. He looked a little haggard. The frost armor around his body was slightly damaged, but he didn't seem to mind. His eyes were focused on the flaming river. "That's fast." Wang Ting's face turned ugly. "Round Ball, can we influence the magnetic field on this planet and lower the resistance?" "I'm trying," Round Ball said without turning. Normally, there were magnetic field disturbance devices on spacecraft. However, this magnetic field was extremely powerful, so Round Ball needed some time to figure out a way. Magnetic field. Wang Ting glanced at the universe stage martial warrior closing in on them. His mind worked at full throttle as he thought of an escape plan. "Wait, magnetic field. Heart of magnetic essence. Wang Teng's eyes lit up. His heart of magnetic essence talent could affect magnetic fields. He felt like slapping himself. His brain wasn't working hard enough. Why didn't he think of this earlier? Wang Teng activated his heart of magnetic essence. A magnetic field surged out of his body and started spreading around the spacecraft at a visible speed. Boom! Instantly, the spacecraft trembled as if it had broken free from the resistance, regaining its speed. Wang Teng, what did you do? It seems to work. Round Ball was elated. However, this only lasted for an instant. After the vibration, the spacecraft turned sluggish again and slowed down. Bang! The universe stage martial warrior noticed that something was amiss, so he acted immediately. His domain got closer to the flaming river. My magnetic field is not powerful enough. Wang Teng's ability was limited. He was only at the celestial stage, so the magnetic field he could produce was limited too. It wasn't enough to influence the field around this planet. He looked at his attributes panel. Heart of magnetic essence, 1001,000,000, first rank. The only way was to raise the rank of his heart of magnetic essence. Wang Teng added blank attributes to the heart of magnetic essence without any hesitation. During a normal battle, the first-rank heart of magnetic essence was enough. Hence, he never felt the need to raise it, but he had no choice now. The reserve of blank attributes decreased continuously while the points of his heart of magnetic essence increased. Within a split second, he used close to 100,000 blank attributes. The heart of magnetic essence finally reached the second rank. Heart of magnetic essence, 12,000,000, second rank. The magnetic field around Wang Teng grew more than 10 times more powerful. Boom! The spacecraft shook violently. The magnetic field released by the planet was finally affected. Even the domain released by the universe stage martial warrior behind got influenced. It stopped moving too. We're moving. A little more. Round Ball shouted. It was overjoyed. This isn't enough. Wang Ting gave a bitter smile. He had to continue using his blank attributes. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.